Coming up on this episode of The Brain Drain Show.
And then there's a loud bang. And the next minute, Dykie's wheels shaking. And I'm like, what the Dykie? And he says, you don't think that's a plastic spoon, do you? I was giving my old board to Brian Wenning because I had $7,000. I was buying a new board every day. I'm short now, but I was really short then. Well, I've known Avi forever. He landed every single trick, and I mean every trick. Animals screaming because God knows what the Southport zoo looked like. Keith Leather, he's probably a bed. But yeah, Ben Jobe's real name, it's not Ben Jobe. I could do a few things, but I was never good. I would try anything. Hearing Skin talk about his journey, hearing Avi talk about his journey, hearing Shipman talk about his journey, there's a gods within skateboarding. Little kid, killing it, gone. No, and then suddenly he's Superstar Geoff, Trans World cover. Ian Reid approached me. He said, call him the next day. We said he'd take me around all the spots. I got to link with Steve Rodriquez. I started getting some Fibro product. Lennie Kirk, bonkers. Getting the chance to skate with Quim and Mike. Foz has always looked out for me. Really hating Beatles music. There has to be skate shops. They have to exist. I forget about East a lot. I forget I had a board company. I'm live on the Brain Drain podcast.
Good evening and welcome to another great episode of The Brain Drain Show with me, Forde Brookfield. Joined to my left is my one and only best friend in the entire world. I'm not going to tell you what his name is. What's your name, Toby?
It's Toby.
It's Toby. And joined to our left is a very special guest. You
said I'm not going to say your name and then you just said it.
I know, I can't help but say it.
Who's on the show, Forde?
We've wanted him on for a long time.
One of the most requested guests.
This is our mate, Mackey. Round of applause in the studio audience for Mackey, please.
Don't leave me hanging.
Oh, there we
Thanks
go.
for coming, dude.
I'm only short.
There we go.
Thank you very much for coming.
We've waited for this one.
Every time we put the thing out, I just fucking repeat myself, but everyone says Mackey, when we want
If we
people.
put a question up.
Why.
Oh, shut up.
It's Mackey and Penny.
Yeah, Mackey and Penny.
Okay.
Mackey, Penny and Avi.
Right,
Those
okay.
are the three most requested ones.
I met Penny last week
How is he?
in Stuttgart.
Yeah?
Or the week before last. He seemed really good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He seems like he's skating
Yeah, he seemed
a
really
lot
good.
more now and better.
I didn't see him skating, but he looked well. And oddly enough, I had an Instagram back and forth with Avi as well. So
okay.
both those people.
What's going on there? Avi on New Balance. Is that
You
new
just
information?
Sorting out the final deal.
Avi, I've known Avi forever. We used to skate Bolton. I'm from Southport, so we'd go to Bolton and skate Bolton a lot, Wigan a lot.
Talk about Avi as long as you want.
Oh,
I
he's incredible.
I can never get tired of hearing
He's never not been incredible. So
Yeah, he's kind of a natural, isn't he? He is a wizard.
He was, but he was incredible when we first met him. So God knows, like, how long he's been skating for. And
What year would you have met him? I think so, when he was like 10 or something, or 9.
He's been going at it for decades, isn't he?
He's nearly 50.
90 maybe, 91.
Yeah.
Because didn't he have the cover of Skateboard?
He did.
Doing
Yeah.
the 1 foot over the hip.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's got to be 90, 91.
Yeah,
time.
it was early, definitely.
He was young in that as well.
I've got
like
that mag at home, actually.
Can I buy it off you?
You can just have it if I find it, but it's in a box.
I'd like that because I've got everything else Avi related.
Incredible. And Dennis too.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
You know, that whole crew.
Yeah, Woody was talking about Dennis, wasn't he? And
It's nice to talk about Dennis because we don't get as many people mentioning him, but Avi always says that Dennis was amazing.
Yeah, well, he was.
And he used to skate the curbs.
He was.
He used to skate curbs or ledges. Woody said you skate curbs or ledges at the time in the 90s, but in like a even more older school style is the way that he used to skate.
Yeah. We all thought he was a hairdresser, but he wasn't.
who, Dennis?
Yeah, with it. But he always looked really, really well
kept.
Well kept.
Yeah.
That's right.
He wouldn't like
And then there was his run at Radlands.
Yeah.
You can't forget that.
I can't remember that.
Oh my God.
What year are we talking?
94 maybe. Duo. The brand he was on, or it might have been his brand. I can't remember, but he landed every single trick, and I mean every trick. Arms went up when he finished his run, and you know we all expected him to go through, but unfortunately not. I could be the year Penny won. Could be that year. Was that 94?
Oh, the actual proper British champs.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in. He was in the in the actual comp.
It's ringing some bells, duo and stuff.
But he did. He landed every trick down. There was like three block.
Yeah.
With a little rail down it, which oddly enough, I went early to. My cousin used to live in Milton Keynes, so I went down to stay with her. And there's I think an indoor ski place in Milton Keynes. Mm-hmm. I didn't skate the Buzzy or anything. I just went to that ski place and played NBA Jam the whole time on the arcade machine, and then went to Radlands early 2 or 3 days before, and Carl Watson and Henry Sanchez were there.
Yeah.
And there was no one else there, and I was just skating with them, and I was just like, what the fuck?
It's really weird, isn't it? Like, because those comps, everybody came to them.
Oh yeah.
The British Championship,
Yeah.
was like you could just you'd arrive in Northampton, you'd park up somewhere along that street, and there was always like people sleeping in their cars and stuff like that. And you go in, and it'd be like, oh, there's Ray Barbie, there's Lance Martin, there's.
I get quite jealous of it because when you talk about the stories
yeah,
of it, it sounds
and then you
unreal.
go out in the evening, and you'd be hanging out with them all, and they'd just be like the superstars of skating would be there right in front of you.
Yeah.
And you could just sit there. You know, I remember watching Keenan Milton and Ray Barbie skate the mini ramp, learning backsmiths on that, and Alan Peterson flying around all over the place. Danny Way doing the hill flip indies on the court bike with no pads on. Then the police came because there was something going on at the hotel the night before, and people got arrested.
Yeah, that's right.
Jason Ellis doing a run, walking outside and puking up everywhere. It was
Good
just
times.
like Chris Markovich doing backside airs to, what do you call it? Is it called body bag when you did backside air to disaster?
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, he did that, snapped the nose off his board and just walked down the vert ramp transition like nothing. Yeah. Just stuff like that you sort of watch
just
and you're
sticks
like,
in your head, doesn't it?
holy shit, Penny just did landing everything every single go. Mike
But
Carroll.
it was so, I mean...
It was amazing.
The funniest memories I have now, looking back, is obviously we all came from our separate towns and cities and scenes, and we all kind of thought we were like individuals there. We stood out. We got picked on by everyone, called moshers or
Grebs,
you know,
it?
goths.
Still get called
Goths
that
was
to this
always
day.
a shout. It's like goth.
Yeah.
Okay.
If someone calls me a goth now, I love it.
Oh yeah, of
like
course. Yeah, no,
Love it.
absolutely. But you go to Radlands, and I remember that year it really was like the real Slim Shady. All of us had white t-shirts, blue jeans,
Light blue Stonewall jeans,
bleach blonde hair, backpack. All of us, and it was quite a funny sight.
I guess that would have been, so that's probably from the tail end of virtual reality, questionable.
1993.
Danny Way, Colin McKay skating in white tees and stuff. Yeah,
it definitely was. Yeah. And we'd all have, you know,
everyone looked the same.
Shell toes or
cut off jeans,
States and Clydes and
good times.
Never
to be repeated. Should we go back in time?
Let's go as far back as we can.
Let's go back to the beginning. So you're from Southport originally. For anyone listening, Southport's kind of, is it north of Liverpool?
It is north of Liverpool, about 20 miles north.
Nice little town, Southport.
It's a seaside resort, a lot like Skeggy actually. So it's quite a lot of old people. A lot of old people, retirement homes.
Yeah.
God's waiting room used to be.
We had this when we were going to Skeggy the weekend. I was like, there's only two reasons you go to Skeggy: to go to Excite for an event or to die.
Yeah, but that was it. So yeah, Southport was, you know, small town.
Yeah.
Kind of, you would either go to Manchester or Liverpool. It's fairly easy to get to on the train line. Had a 70s skate park, which was on the seafront. Really fucking rough concrete, like insanely rough concrete.
There's none of that left now.
No, that got bulldozed years ago. But I remember it was you'd go to the fair. So there's a big fun fair at the front and a zoo, oddly enough. So you'd hear like animals screaming because God knows what the Southport fucking zoo looked like. I never went in. And then the screams from people on roller coasters because there was, I forget, I can't remember the name of the roller coaster, but it was the same one as the one in Coney Island.
Oh, okay.
So it was the oldest wooden roller coaster in the country,
and it's still there, right?
No, it's long gone now.
Oh, right.
But you'd go there and there'd be the skate park, and it was fenced in. And by this point in time, they'd filled the skate park in with sand and put slides in there.
Yeah.
Because skateboarding had kind of
What year are we talking
falling
about?
out of fashion. I remember going maybe 83, 84.
So is that how long you like? When did you first get a skateboard? What year are we talking? Like early
86 probably.
Right. So you...
but skateboarding, so we would go down to the fair with, you know, days out in the summer or what have you, and then over the course of that few years, they emptied the skate park out of sand,
right,
and started to see skateboarders in there. And I remember going with my cousin, who took us to the fair, me and my sister, and I remember vividly just stood on a pillar because I'm short now, but I was really short then. In fact, so short that my parents got called into the school one time because they thought I was being mistreated and not being fed enough. And then they saw my mum and dad and they were like, oh, okay, because they're tiny.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, my mum's like Yoda. In fact, that's what me kids call her, affectionately. So yeah, stood on a pillar, just spent the whole day looking at skateboarders, and this is probably 85 maybe.
Oh.
I'm guessing around when Back to the Future, that sort of time.
What time? What year was Back to the Future? Was it 86?
I think it was 85.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
The amount of times we've spoken about this on the show, we should fucking know this.
Yeah, I think it was 85. So it was in and around that time.
Kind of a boom.
Yeah, skateboarding was everywhere at that time. It was kind of the toy of choice for Christmas. Mm-hmm. You'd circle it in your Toy Master catalogue. You know, Rawcliffe's, the sports shop in Southport, had that winged skateboard. I always remember that.
Skatewing.
You know the one.
There's been one on Facebook Marketplace for sale.
We've been trying to get it, haven't we?
In St Austell.
I remember seeing it. I remember standing on it.
300 quid.
Oh, really?
And I kind of want it.
It's like a Turbo 2 with wings.
It's a Turbo 2 with wings and loads more plastic.
We want it for the set, don't we?
Yeah, because I used to go into Beatties in Southend-on-Sea, and they'd have the Skate Wings promo video playing on the massive, big TV. And
I did not know there was
me and my brother
video.
would just be there going, because it's just somebody airing across the camera.
I've seen it. He's stood on it, isn't he, with the handles?
You obviously can fly if you get on this thing. Yeah, there we go. Look, there's one in...
That was the one, the yellow one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. I remember that. But I wasn't skating at this point in time, and or maybe I had just started, but you kind of, you did everything at that point in time. You were playing football, riding a bike, one roller boot. Me and my sister shared a pair of roller boots, which is quite funny. I always had the left foot, which is why I can push fast with my right.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what I attribute it to anyway. So over time, I think my friend Ian got a skateboard for his birthday in the summer. Because we went to his party. I remember going to his birthday party and he had a skateboard. And I inherited his second-hand Turbo 2.
Yeah.
You can't roll anywhere with them. They're so shit. Plastic trucks, plastic wheels. Still had the fucking cellophane that covers it.
Yeah.
Or certainly parts of the cellophane.
Well, they used to cellophane the board and then assemble it.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's still around the trucks, isn't it? Yeah.
It's so weird, isn't it?
And then I remember kind of borrowing his board because it rolled, and then somehow me dad getting bits and over, however in school swapping things for stickers, panini footy stickers for a Santa Cruz wheel or whatever it was at the time. And I eventually got some sort of a setup that looked very similar to that. Yeah, absolutely.
Avi put up a video recently skating the Turbo 2.
With the bubble.
And he's still doing the no comply, like tray flips.
The tail was flat anyway, and then it had that bubble on it, which was insane.
It's really weird looking at that picture there of the Turbo 2. I suddenly got a flashback of, I know exactly how those rails feel.
Yeah.
I ain't seen one for 35 years. But
And then you kind of... I don't think I'd seen a skate video at the time. I remember going down to the skate park and kind of paying in and standing around and just feeling a little bit awkward because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because I'd only been skating the flat or acid dropping off walls in the entry to the road my mum and dad lived on. And we used to go to this youth club, and there was a guy called Keith Leather, and he was cool as fuck.
What a classic British name.
Keith Leather. I mean, he's probably a knobhead. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we all, I certainly looked at him like, wow. But he had a Turbo 2 that he'd wood stained, cut like handles out to hold it.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at his board and being like, wow. But he had like indies on it with like some big blue wheels.
Yeah.
So it's brown wood stained, blue wheels, big silver indies.
With a handle cut out.
And handle, two sides.
But
so
that handle thing, I remember being in Toys R Us, sort of must have been 89, 90, and you could get boards that had that handle cut out.
wow, okay.
I can't remember the brand, but I looked at it and I was like, what the fuck's that for? It's just like a carry handle.
Yeah, but it's oddly enough, Ant Claraval's making a filmer board that has the handle so you can carry it.
It's not a bad idea, is it?
So he's on that tip.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was skateboarding was everywhere. But you didn't see lots of skateboarders, but you'd see it, in toy shops or whatever.
Yeah.
And then eventually I started to, whatever that summer was of probably 87 by this point, going to the skate park every single day, and really learning how to because it was a rolled lip skate. There was no coping.
Yeah.
We used to take the older guys used to take the fence panels out, put them at the top of the rolled sort of concrete, so you kind of roll up and you'd bump onto the concrete coping. And then there was they have a big flower show in Southport, so the BBC TV were covering the flower show, and I remember them coming in and filming skateboarding, which I think is online actually. Southport Flower Show, 1980 skate park maybe. I can't remember. But there was a guy called Andy Irwin used to come round the snake run, and then he'd do a somersault, jump out and land on his feet. And I remember him doing that, and like two fingers to the camera. My friend Donnelly, who I grew up skating with, went to school with. In fact, he's a day older than me, and his mum was in the bed next to my mum in the hospital, so we were born a day apart. And he used to wear a Batman t-shirt. He had Batman Converse, and he used to do star jumps out of it.
Was he Batman?
He could well have been Batman, yeah. Maybe he was. But that skate park, I mean, it's quite a famous skate park to older skaters. I'm sure Skin would remember it. Mm-hmm. Tony Alva did a demo there, and there used to be like plastic. I think there was lots of ramps there. I can't remember what the ramps were because they were long gone by the time I'd started skating. Fiberglass ramps. They were.
Yeah.
But by the time it was a slide park, so you'd have all these kids in there sliding down essentially ramps, and we'd be skating the park. Yeah. Pure chaos. Yeah. And like I said before, animals screaming in the zoo and people screaming on the wooden roller coasters. So that was the kind of backdrop to skating. So those noises still
resonate.
I can still hear them in my head.
Yeah.
You know, the clatter of the roller coaster going up.
What year did that park get filled in?
I would say mid-90s maybe.
I think it was around sort of 91, 92. That's when like Nedworth went, and then they probably just started knocking it on the head.
I would say
that's when it died off.
Yeah,
essentially.
And so growing up in that park, or certainly starting skating in that park, I definitely enjoyed transition. I enjoyed going fast because everything was steep and you fly down it, slam hard. And your knees would be gone completely. Yeah. But I used to look out of the skate park and I'd see all these other skaters skating the step outside. I didn't know them at the time. And we all became really good friends, after the fact. But they were the street skaters, and I was always in the park.
So that was kind of the time that things were transitioning more from like big ramps and transition stuff to street skating coming in a bit more. So we're talking like 91, 92, I guess.
Probably around that time. And that's when we all started then going to Liverpool and Manchester. So sort of 1991.
And how was the scene in Liverpool then?
And I want to know what your first board was and what shop you got it from.
Sorry,
my first board was this was the board I always wanted. This Natas, not the kitten, but I always wanted a Natas Panther board. That was obviously looking through the year-old Thrashers that had just come in, because everything was a year later for some strange reason back then.
Just took that long to get over it.
It really did. And you'd sit and look at the back page. Cali Surf Skate, was it? I just remember these adverts with all the boards lined up, full completes, and you'd be like, oh, look at that Roscop. Oh, look at that, that Natas or that Gons. And I really wanted a Natas Panther. And I remember going to, it was Arcade Sports, still there. Sports shop sold everything, bowling balls, badminton rackets.
In Southport?
In Southport, yeah. Badminton rackets, bowling balls, chess sets.
Fishing tackle.
And skateboards.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many boards he had, probably not a lot, but I remember going in and being like, oh my God, I'm going to get a skateboard, I'm going to do it. And I remember I couldn't afford it, and I remember I had to pay it off over the weeks of working, like a £5 a week. Yeah. So I had a paper round, worked in an egg farm, all at the same time, and then a chippy, and I remember just paying this off. How
much was it? Can you remember?
It's probably like 60 quid. I can't remember exactly, but it took me a while, and then it took me so long that it got closer to my birthday, and my Auntie Marie paid like the last 20 quid or whatever it was.
It's amazing that
Big up Auntie Marie.
It's amazing that he let you do it like on a tab.
Oh yeah.
So
on a tab basis.
Did you take the board and then pay it off?
No. So I used to go in and I'd pay the £5, and then he'd give it me, and I'd hold it for a bit. and I'd look at it, and it was the Jeff Kendall graffiti board.
Oh, right.
So I would sit there and I'd just look at all of the names on the board, and then I'd give it back, and Minor Threat. I always remember Minor Threat, and I used to think, what is that? And found out it was a band a lot later. But
that one there.
That one there. In fact, that was the exact board.
It's amazing that you were going and paying it off, and then he was like, right, you can hold it for 5 minutes.
And then I'd give him back, and then off I go.
That would have been on your mind as well, wouldn't it? Like, how can I scrape together taking in a couple of quid to him? Here's another £3.
I did not stop thinking about that board the whole time, because that was that was everything.
I don't think kids get that feeling now.
Well, we've spoken about this before, but the nostalgic.
350 quid that one's going for.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's not an A. That's
still in cellophane though.
It's a reissue, that one.
Is it?
Yeah. The nostalgic feelings you get when you look at like graphics like that, the old full page spreads of slime ball ads, or like just the ads that are on the back of the mags.
They just translate different.
Yeah, it's like you can't get that across to anyone. I mean, I like just when you're talking about that going into your first skate shop, I'm thinking back like when I went in Phase 7. So it would have been the first time I went in there. It was like 89, and Sean Goff Brand X boards. What? And it was all black in there, and there was the Power Wall, the Santa Cruz Hall,
all the colour.
And I was just there like, wow. And they did the tracker undercarriage kit, where you got the wheels, the trucks, the bolts, right? And I was just there, and there was this rip grip. Yeah, it's unreal.
But I at this point in time, I guess for most of us that lived, that weren't in London, perhaps, we didn't know that there were skate shops. We didn't know that there was a skate industry. We didn't know anything about this. This was a sport shop that had the skateboard
bits and bobs.
That you'd seen in Thrasher, and it was only till we went to Liverpool to Danzy's shop off the wall in Quiggins that you realised that there was
stuff happening.
This is a pro skater. He's got his own shop.
Yeah.
And it was all dedicated to skateboarding, because Probe Records was where you would see. It's still there. Really, really famous record shop from Liverpool. Still still going today, and that's where you would go and buy skate stuff as well in a record shop. So it wasn't like, you know, it is today where there's skate shops in most towns, I would say.
Yeah, it's unreal how many shops there are in the UK in a minute.
That's interesting, because I've always had the thought for years, like if I had a shop, I'd want to do like records and skateboards, because it just goes well.
It's like a culture that they're combined, aren't
It's
they?
the same sort of customer.
Yeah.
You know, coffee, skateboards, music. It's kind of that's what we're all into.
Can I just tell a quick story about Phase 7? So one time, it's probably like the second or third time I went in there with my brother, and it was when the Hensley King size.
So they had a shop. It wasn't a distributor.
It was called Eat at Joe's.
Okay.
Originally, Joe Burlow.
Okay, yeah.
And then it changed into Phase 7.
Right, okay.
But this time it was still Eat at Joe's. 72 to High Street, Waltham Cross. It might be, it's probably on the internet. Anyway, Hensley King size went in there because they were bringing in Hate Street at that time. And I remember the guy was like, can I have a Hensley King size? And my brother wants one too. And he was like, yeah. He opened the door to the stock room, and there was just this huge stack of Hensley King sizes. Me and my brother just went, what? Like that. Like, it blew your mind, because it's like, what? And then
Split Skates in Manchester was like that.
Yeah.
It had, you know, every stain of every board. It was 10 deep. You know, that shop was, I'm sure people have spoke about Split previously, but that was a special shop. Down the stairs, and you walk through the surf shop, and then you go down again into the back, and it was like an Aladdin's cave of everything that you've ever wanted. You know, from
proper like eye candy, and for kids who are into skating. Yeah.
So you were saying that you just started kind of going into Liverpool around that time. Who was like the crew that you was going with, or who was you like taking under anyone's wing in Liverpool? Because Liverpool's obviously got a pretty rich history of very great skateboarders.
Originally, I would go to. I remember the first time I went to Liverpool was with my friend Ian, that I said before. He was from Liverpool originally and moved to Southport. So we went to his nan's, and she lived near Edge Lane. And I remember going to Edge Lane, and this is still in the 80s, so probably 88, 89. And it was gnarly as fuck, like really gnarly. Like the ramps had no platforms. They were, even at this point in time, all of the metal was bent out of shape and sticking up. And, you know, I remember trying to skate that. And obviously you've all seen the H cover, you know, the slash on fucking insane. So I went to Edge Lane, but we didn't go anywhere else. We just went to there. And then we'd skate in Southport, and then I can't remember one day whether we went to Manchester first, because you hear about the spots, you know, the Law Courts in Liverpool, or you know, the Curbs in Manchester. So they were like, right, we've got to go to Curbs, and then we'll go to Liverpool the next weekend. So we would alternate. One weekend we go to Manchester, one weekend we go to Liverpool. And over the course of time, I mean, I loved Manchester. The level of skateboarding at that time was insane. You know, that early 90s, 91, 92, 93. At the Curbs was insane. Everyone skated fast, fucking, you know, noseblunt slides the whole length of the curbs, back lips. And those curbs were big. You know, it was an intimidating spot as well.
They're those curbs that were like the sort of higher profile ones, weren't they? Right. So they're probably like.
And they've got like the curved out bit in the middle.
So you have to take, because the foot comes out more than the lip. So
that's
you
right.
Kind of have to...
So good to skate there, but really intimidating. That you used to have to climb the fence to get in. So once you were in, you were like, whoa, you know. And if you didn't just get to it, people, you know, you get a lot of shit there for sure. But the level was so far ahead of anything that I there was a crew from St Helens, and I can't remember any of their names, but I remember when we were skating. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place.
That's all right.
It's just
keep it going. We love it, and people listening to it love it as well.
So we'd all, I mean, everyone, we'd all start skating Tesco's, and, you know, like any car park, industrial estate, B&Q. And we'd skate these curbs, and one night this car pulled up and a load of lads got out from St Helens, and they were all like professional skate, you know what I mean? They could do every trick. Never saw them again, ever. Didn't know who they were. never seen them again after that. It was like this insane moment where these lads turned up, absolutely killed our spot, and then left.
They're fucked off.
And then
one night only demo.
Yeah, it was, but it was like that because you couldn't see, you didn't have a phone, there was no Instagram, you didn't kind of, outside of your circle of friends, we'd meet at Southport station, 8:30 or whatever it was on a Saturday morning, and that was it. If you were there, you were on the train and you were with everyone and you went to town, and if you were late, you'd be chasing around the city all day trying to find where people are. You'd go to all the spots, but you might miss them at every spot.
Yeah.
So we go to Liverpool and we go to I remember, and I told Jimmy this, one of the first times we get off at Moorfields, which is the first stop that you get into Liverpool, and we'd all get out, and Moorfields has, you come down the escalator and then there's 3 steps, another 3 steps and another 3 steps. So we'd skate that, hit that, and then we'd skate up the street. There's a little marble ledge on the corner of a building and we'd all skate that, and then you go round the corner and right in front of you is the law courts handrails. You could see them in the distance, and there was a road gap that we'd all start sessioning on the way there by the Sayers, which is it's the kind of Liverpool Greggs.
Oh, nice.
There's only one Sayers left that I know of in Liverpool, but it was
regional bakers are the raddest.
It's so
birds
good.
And we
So good. And in the distance we could see people skating.
Yeah.
And there was somebody jumping onto the handrail. I'd not seen anybody jump onto a handrail, at all in real life.
Caveman in it.
I can't remember if it was Caveman in it or Ollie into it because couldn't see.
Yeah.
Saw Ron Allen in Manchester.
Yeah.
I forget what demo that was, a Life or a H Street demo, I can't remember.
I think they did a H Street and Life joint trip because they went to Stevenage, I think.
Okay.
Jason Rogers and a few
he
others.
Had like a sweater, like a jumper on, I can remember. But so obviously people were skating handrails. It was in all the videos, but I'd never seen anybody skate a handrail in the flesh, not on the street. And we skated up, and it was Fez, and Jimmy Boyce was jumping onto this handrail, and I think he was trying to 50-50 it or board slide. I can't remember exactly, but we were just like, what the fuck? And Jimmy Boyce was staying at Fez's at the time.
Fucking big up Jimmy.
But I mean, you see him today. He's
still going.
He is an inspiration to all of us. He pushes the envelope every time he skates. He's not just like.
Yeah. You see the clip he put up where it was like a big bank with rocks on it, and he just pops off the rocks into it was a recent Instagram, and then he does one of those, like, I know people have done them before, but I always call them the Avi No Comply tray, and he does it to board slide down the big curb in the car park.
Oh yeah, he goes to cinema, but he skates the curbs on the way to the cinema.
That's what I was going to say. That's the raddest clips
everywhere
you see him.
He
Sets his camera up and he just does it, and he's like front boarding down the full.
Because that's gnarly. Yeah. I mean, you're going to slam on that, and he takes serious slams every time he skates.
It's amazing on his Instagram. He's like, I was just on the way to the shops today, so I got this quick clip, and it's fucked.
Yeah.
And he's skating in the rain as well, skating ledges in the rain, downhill.
I mean, there's somebody for your video. If you're gonna film a part with someone, Jimmy Boyce.
He's like trying to catch a rare bird or something.
You're not.
You've got to follow him. You got to jump in a car and just hope that he's there.
He's
like you were saying, like just turn up at spots and just be like, "Where's Jimmy?"
I put Jimmy up there with Ben Jobs, Curtis McCann's.
Yeah.
I'd put him up there.
Yeah.
Mystical, inspirational,
just this
legendary.
And skateboarding back then was all spoken. It was all like myth. It was all it was like this mystery. Somebody said something. Oh, so did you see what so and so did?
Someone
did you hear what and that's what it was built on, folklore.
Was Jimmy dressing the exact same as well as what he dresses to this day?
I reckon so. He had shorts. I remember shorts. Maybe make combat shorts. I mean, everyone had combat shorts because
like backwards cap on, black long sleeve.
But phenomenal. I mean, Fez as well. Fez was an incredible skateboarder. I think maybe Percy was around. Adam H. who else would have been around then? So I would always be with
Jeff? When did Jeff come into the picture?
So we would skate with. Let me try and get the timelines right. So we would go into Liverpool. I'd always be with the Southport crew, and we'd end up at Southport World Famous Posse is what we were called.
Yeah.
Or the Dossy Posse. That's for me mates. They'll all be pissing themselves when they hear that.
Big up the Dossy Posse.
I'm glad you said that. So we'd meet. Everyone would meet at the courts. That would be the meeting spot. And Geoff would come through with Barry, Baz Wong, who was fucking amazing. John Newby, fucking amazing. You know, and then the Crosby guys would come, Nicky Ryan, Kev Banks, Macca, who was nicknamed Ocean after Ocean Howell because he looked like him. Very good looking man, still is. And his younger brother Puddle, because obviously he's the brother of Ocean, so he's called Puddle.
It's amazing, like, Question said that on the podcast, didn't he? He's like, it's only the British that have well good nicknames, like, oh, come meet my mate Spoon, or Mattress.
But yeah,
like,
it's so, I mean, the other one from Liverpool would be
Puddle.
Cactus.
And did you also know that Ben Job isn't called Ben Job? That's not his name. Ben Job's, that's not Ben Job's name.
No, that's what McGee said in the podcast yesterday, that Beyond Boards podcast.
That,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, Ben Job's real name is not Ben Job. He was called Ben Job because he looked like Ben Job from Hate Street.
Right.
Which is mine, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'd all be there, and Geoff would come through. H was always fucking tearing about and slamming really hard and just looking so good.
I want as much info as on H as possible because he's amazing.
Yeah, and again, similar to Jimmy, you don't see him often, and when you do, it's incredible. He skates.
There's like a real element with Howard with H. He's so fucking raw, isn't he?
Just a proper street skateboarder.
It was just fucking Mach 10.
Yep.
Just like, barging.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I don't know why we all skated fast in Liverpool. I've no understanding of why that is. I think maybe everyone skated fast at that point in time. Because you probably had to, because our wheels were fucking tiny, and the gaps in videos were fucking huge. The Corey drop in Liverpool was called after Corey Chrysler does this fucking huge one in one of the videos. Debunker maybe, I can't remember which video it is. That's a Mavid.
Good video,
Frank Arata would be, you know what I mean? So the gaps, so whether these gaps were as big as they were, when you go to America, everything's a bit smaller than you thought it was originally.
That's the fisheye for you, isn't it?
And so we'd all try and skate big fucking gaps, and they were huge, and there'd be a curb at the top, and you'd have to fly over this curb. All of us slamming all the time, but you'd have to hack about 1,000 miles an hour just to clear it.
Is that kind of then maybe how, like, Geoff, I mean, obviously he's naturally a gnarly dude, but he, at that point, there was always that gap in Liverpool that was off that, like, concrete ledge bit over a pavement, and he had loads of tricks over that in the early rad and stuff.
Yeah, so the Littlewoods gap.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was that because he was watching videos and it was just like, it's got to be big?
Yeah.
So he was like...
Yep. Definitely. And Geoff was just another one of the crew, so he didn't really, to my knowledge, he didn't really stand out. I didn't skate with him all the time.
Yeah.
But anytime we see him, he was ripping. But I always thought that John Newby was incredible. Yeah. And our hero from Southport was Nicky Ryan. And he was a graffiti artist, but so he's an amazing graffiti artist, but on a skateboard he was so fucking good. Like everything he did, we'd always be like, whoa, because we wanted to, emulate the people around you that were doing stuff that was really good. And John and Nicky were like the two that were pushing the envelope as far as tricks and spots named after them in Liverpool. And Geoff came up under them. Baz was amazing too. Could do every trick, like really, really fucking good style. And Baz would skate with Geoff all the time. We'd go to, I mentioned Off the Wall, Dan's shop. Was upstairs the first time I went. It was on the top floor of Quiggins. And then maybe 6 months later, a year later, he moved downstairs to the back of Quiggins. Quiggins was a sort of independent, bizarre shopping centre kind of affair in the city centre. So it was lots of independent shops selling fucking everything. And at the back of this furniture sort of warehouse space, Danzy built. It was called Danzy's Ditch, and it was a mini ramp with no flat bottom at all, super tight transitions, and coping as big as your freaking head, and it was so gnarly to skate, really, really hard to skate. There's a lot of footage of it. Old photos always had red phone boxes in the background because the guys that owned the furniture warehouse bought up all the red phone boxes because it was when they were changing them to the new phone boxes. So there was all these red phone boxes in the background, and you'd see Geoff skate there. And everyone snake session, you'd have to like jump in almost to get a go. And once you got in, there was 15 other people in, and if you try stay on, but King would be in there, Adam would be in there, H would be in there, and you'd fight for your dear life to land any sort of trick.
With those guys,
sure. And that's the kind of energy that was always around, and every spot we went to, there was that energy, that raw kind of like just fucking go for it gnarliness. And there was not, I think Kev had a camera, but there wasn't anyone really documenting it with a video camera. So it was all kind of just, and I guess that's the same for every city, again, kind of adds to that mystique and that folklore. Oh, did you see what Howard did? Or did you see what Geoff did? And, it kind of like grew in, the gap was 50 feet, instead of 10.
I guess it probably would have been sort of like mid-90s when people started getting cameras and that, being...
It just became a bit more accessible.
Yeah.
I can't remember if Kev had a camera because he went to art college. I can't remember if he had access to a video camera because of that. But he certainly shot photos, and obviously, Meanie was in Liverpool for a time. And I didn't know Meanie at all. I went and shot a photo with Meanie one time, which is the smallest photo ever, I think. I don't think there's a smaller skate photo.
So he was photographer for Skateboard Mag, right?
Rad Magazine.
Rad Magazine.
Rad?
This was one of the 93, I think the issue was, of
Did
Rad.
you shoot your first
photo
published photo?
Yes.
Did
and
he
it's
not
the
shoot-
size of a 20p piece.
What's the trick?
It's an indie...
Tweaked indie
over a hip, yeah. And it says Mackey's certainly not demented, but he is a tweaker.
Nice.
That was the caption. And when I say it's the size of a 20p piece, it's literally that size of a 20p piece.
Yeah.
Wonder why.
Yeah, Rad Magazine was good for
I
having
just had it-
photos that were like this big all round it as well, and you're like...
Insane.
Yeah.
And then Geoff's got a huge photo of a backside heel flip. It's same page, and mine's like this. It's like, I could see where it was going. But yeah, I mean, Geoff, going back to Geoff, when you saw him develop, because I think I started, when did I start working full time? Maybe I was at college, but I was also working full time. Strange, but I was able to buy new boards every week and new shoes and all of that. But Geoff was just skating. He's a couple of years younger than me. He was skating all the time once he finished school. And he just rapidly got
The progression.
Insane. So fast. I mean, and then he was gone. He left for America when he was I guess 16 maybe.
Yeah.
I remember we went to Barrow in Furness. There was a comp sleepover. I can't remember when it was, but it was early 90s anyway. And I think Geoff got on Deathbox at that comp that we went to. And I remember thinking, oh, maybe I could get on Death Box. You know, you kind of have these dreams because your mate said, you know, you're good. And I could do a few things, but I was never good. But I would try anything. I would try anything. No talent, but fucking stuntman in me just wanted to fly down some steps. And you know, Geoff would try the same stuff but land it, you know, and it was like, wow, amazing. Great,
yeah, he always had good trick selection in the early days.
And style as well.
Yeah.
You know, he had a really good style.
Yeah.
And he was travelling, you know, he would come down south, he'd go to London. He obviously would, in Roller Snake's video was probably was it 540 or 720?
540, I think he had a bit in.
And that was from the Little Woods drop. He had stuff on that.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just tapped in. You know, he was kind of in it.
Yeah.
I never got in it. I was always outside of it, just skating with my mates, and you know that for me was skateboarding.
Yeah.
But Geoff was.
There must have been quite a quick turnaround then, like, so we're probably talking like 92 he gets on Death Box, and it was 93 that they went to America, wasn't it? So he probably just got on and was like, that's it.
And so you know, and he was gone from Liverpool.
Yeah,
you know, he was little kid, killing it, gone. You know, and then suddenly he's
superstar
Geoff, 360 flip, trans world cover.
Yeah.
And then
seeing that must have been mind blowing that it was that quick. It was just like.
Yeah, for us, for
Geoff
sure.
from Liverpool.
Yeah.
Geoff from Liverpool, and now he's mag covers in America.
Yeah.
And it was skin, weren't it? He was saying at that time, like America now, it's so easy, but at that time it just seemed like a completely unachievable place. It was just like so far away.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. I certainly didn't know what that bridge was from skating in Liverpool to being on a skate company, living in California and skating and getting covers of Transworld. That didn't make sense to me.
But you guys must have been stoked, like somebody who is like from your career essentially. Suddenly he's on the cover of Transworld.
Yeah, but then we didn't see him again.
Yeah,
for quite some time. And then you'd see him in town, and he'd be back for a bit, and then he'd be gone again. And then I remember one time we were all skating. There was a really famous spot in Liverpool called the Tiles. These brown tile spot, amazing spot. Three ledges that you could, you know, board slide, drop, board slide, drop, board slide. And Geoff was there with his. So I said, what, maybe 96, 95, with his Airwalk prototype for his pro shoot. And that was like, what the fuck? You know, because Airwalk was everything to us as skateboarders. You know, as much as it's like a shit brand now, it's hard to comprehend how...
That was the skate shoot.
It was hard, even though it was as much skateboarding as Vans was at that point in time. All, you know, the best skateboarders rode Airwalk, you know. That's you know, those sorry shoes. Or
around that time it was, so Geoff had a shoe out, Jason Lee, Brian Howard,
that's right.
Jason,
and that's right. But I would say Geoff had one of the first
pro shoes.
Yeah, it wasn't too long after Natas that Geoff had his name on a shoe, which was
it was kind of a chunkier kind of mid top.
It was,
yeah,
it was. It looked pretty hideous, I think.
Yeah,
from memory. And I think Geoff was on Airwalk for a couple of years, and then obviously he moved on. But yeah, Christ, it was just he was a kid from Liverpool who became a global superstar on a skateboard. You know, I remember the year that he was at Radlands in the camo shorts, and he was fucking killing it. You know, like, and he'd been in America for a few months or whatever, 6 months or however long he'd been over there. But then he came back, and his level of skateboarding was, you know, there was no difference to the Rick Howards and the Mike Carrolls and the, you know, he was the same, and which is quite crazy to see that progression in such a short period
that's
of time.
Camo cargo shorts, pulled up white socks.
Yep.
Airwalk shoe.
Yeah, the tan Airwalk shoes.
Yeah, and he was
kickflip melon over the hip.
Fakie over the big hip.
Yeah.
360 ollie, lip slide down the rail. Was he doing tray flip lips down the rail like that? I think
Probably.
he might have been, yeah.
That's his trick. That trick's amazing.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, here he is. He's sort of settled in very nicely with everyone else there and was absolutely killing it.
Oh, he was as you know,
a force.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were all super fucking stoked.
Yeah, I bet.
That he was getting what he deserved for sure. But he was fucking working for it.
Oh yeah.
Know? He was working for it.
Yeah.
I think they all had to. I think Flip had
they kind of
really
had
hard time.
Yeah, well, it was kind of proving yourself because, like, you know, at that point it was like if you're in California, you were like from California, or if you were an outsider, you kind of had to work twice as hard to get recognised, to sort of almost prove yourself twice. You know,
there was a certain arrogance at that time from American. Not every American pro, but there was, you know, the famous tales of Penny getting laughed at. You know, we saw that.
Yeah.
You know, people were laughing at him because they didn't understand it.
Spitting on him as well, or something.
I don't know about the spitting, but definitely laughing. You know, and taking the piss out of him.
And then it was literally the next year, and everyone was like,
yeah,
Penny's my favourite skater.
Of course, absolutely.
And you know,
and the rest is history.
And I bet Penny was completely unaware of all that shit.
Because he didn't give a shit. But that you know, Geoff didn't give a shit either.
No.
I don't think Ali Kearns gives a shit, or
No.
you know, Andy Scott. You know, I think that's naturally, that's kind of how we hold ourselves as skateboarders in the UK. I don't think we're not arsed.
Don't give a fuck.
You know,
when we're saying just get on with it.
It's and it's you're just with your mates having a laugh most of the time.
Yeah, crazy times.
Let's get back to you. What were some of your first sponsors? When did all that stuff start rolling around?
It was really late in terms of probably only a couple of years after Geoff, but in my head, I was a little older than my friends, so obviously I got to that 18-year-old stage of your life sooner. So I really got into, you know, going out, clubbing, drinking a lot. Skateboarding got a little bit
pushed aside.
Sidetracked. Because you got, you know, I was working full time, so I had a group of mates who didn't skate, weren't from skateboarding, completely different, you know, and I was going out every weekend with them, or every night with them pretty much. It wasn't just a weekend thing. And then Ash Wilson, shout out Ash, because I've got to say this. When I remember it was one Friday or Saturday, I was going into town, so I was getting the bus at the corner of my mum's road, and there's a little cul-de-sac, and I could hear someone skating, because Ash is quite a bit younger than us, and we were all friends with Ash's older brother Danny. So I went round the corner, and there's Ash skating this curb, and and I'm waiting for the bus. So we start talking. You know, I knew who Ash was. He was just Danny's little brother, and he'd always follow us around. So I had to go on his board, and we started talking, and he was like, "Oh, you know, we should go skate," and I was like, "Yeah, I will." And the next day, or you know, a couple of days after, knock on my mum's door, and it's Ash, and he's like, "Oh, we're going skating," and Ash probably was 13, 14 at this point in time, and I was, you know, like 19, and I was like, "Yeah, go on then," and got me board, and we skated from my mum's to Southport town centre, which is probably 3-4 miles, but we hit all the spots. It took us all day to get there, skating every spot that we would skate. And that was the moment I was like, I fucking love skateboarding. And from that moment on, it was, you know, I was all in, you know, that was it then. So every weekend I was back on the board, or at least every weekend I seemed to be injured every fucking time I skated. That was always, you know, ankles. So I suffered a lot with ankles and knees at that time. Again, going back to, I'd try anything. I literally would give us a go, fucking die. And then, you know, out for 3 weeks, out for a month, out for 6 months, whatever. And then back again, first day back, ankle gone. And that seemed to happen all the time. And I was always working full time, going to college, obviously partying, skating as much as I could with Ash and Haggis. Wakes, Heathy, like all Dean Ball, Phil Smith, Keith Smith. These are all my friends from Southport who I'm still really good friends with them all now, and we still skate together. I remember working all summer, saved up a load of money, 97, and me and my girlfriend at the time, we were going to go and stay with my cousin in Queens, New York. He was a chef in a restaurant, and he said, "Oh, come out here. I'm never here." And he was never there. And I remember him inviting us out, and we were both due to go. And then she's a home bird. She said, "Oh, I really don't want to go." And I think she was probably expecting me to be, "Oh yeah, okay." And I was like, "Well, I'm going."
Yeah.
And I went for 3 months, stayed at my cousin's in 97. I remember he was a chef at a restaurant, and when he said he was never there, I saw him on the first day I arrived, and I saw him the last week before I left because he was moving apartment. I didn't see him at any other point in time. The whole 3 months. He was a chef, and he was always asleep when I was waking up, or and I wouldn't see him then at all. So I went to New York, 97. I'd always wanted to go there. Obviously, Eastern exposure, just watching skate videos, any East Coast footage, I was always like, "Oh, I fucking love this." This is the kind, because it was very similar to Liverpool. That was kind of, it was fast. You skate down the street. Didn't give a fuck if there was cars. Didn't care if there were people around. And I remember going to New York, and my cousin lived in Elmhurst, Queens. I didn't know where the fuck Elmhurst, Queens was in relation to anything. But I was staying there, and I was taking the train into Manhattan every single day of the week. And I was skating all day long till the end of the day, sometimes through the night and then back. And I remember going to the Brooklyn. So I can't remember if I brought a setup with me. I probably didn't. So I'd saved up, and I think I'd saved up £3,500, which translated into $7,000. And I was fucking minted. 7,000. It was insane. It was insane. And I remember going to, so I had the address for Supreme, Lafayette Street. Getting to Manhattan, fucking, where is it? Tower Records. Where the fuck? I couldn't find it. Eventually found it. Oh no, I did have a board because I was skating the board, and I picked it up, and I walked up to go through the door, and the guy was like on the door, I forget who it was, and he was like, "What the fuck, man? It's not a fucking briefcase." And I was like, "Do you want me to skate into the shop?" Really perplexed. And so I walked in, and bear in mind, Supreme was like, it was everything to me. It was like the biggest thing in my head. I built this store up to be like the thing. And the second I got there, I felt shit because this guy had dissed me for some reason. I didn't know what the diss was about. And I remember kind of hanging in there for a bit, like a few minutes, not looking at anything and feeling really awkward and leaving. And I was like, "Oh, fuck." That was my first experience of Supreme. And I probably had a Supreme hat on that I, acquired from somewhere, probably paid fucking 60 quid for it or whatever. And I remember going to Boards and Blades or something. There was another kind of like had everything shop. Not too far from Tower Records, and I remember getting some Ronnie Krieger's or something from there, and skated down to the banks. And the second I got to the Brooklyn banks, Ian Reid approached me. I didn't know who he was, and he was like, "Yo, man!" He started talking to me, and he was really, really like animated and dead friendly, and he was trying to skate the back steps, and he just started skateboarding again, so he must have stopped for a period of time.
That was one of my questions, spending time with Ian Reid,
Oh,
because he obviously did Sex, Hood and Videotape, one of the rawest skate videos
absolutely,
ever.
Yeah. And I didn't, like I say, I didn't know who he was. He approached me. He was really friendly. He said he'd take me around all the spots, which he did. And we skated all day, and he, you know, gave me his number, and he said, call him the next day, which I did. And we met, and we you know, from that moment on, like, he was my guy, the whole trip. And wherever he was going, I was going too. And I think, because I went back, you know, a few years in a row, so I can't remember the timeline of the various trips. But on that first 97 trip, he took me to Bobby Puleo's house or apartment in Manhattan. Yeah. Bobby Puleo wasn't on DC anymore, but he had boxes of DCs and fucking stacks of boards. We were skating with Bobby Puleo, and I was like, fucking, that's Bobby Puleo.
Yeah.
You know, like, and we went to this pool in the fucking back of nowhere in Brooklyn. We had to climb this spiked fence, but the spikes went, I think the spikes curled over this way.
They curve outwards, don't they? So you have to...
Fuck knows how we got in, but we did, and we skated this abandoned pool. And Puleo talks about it in an episode or something. But I was there that day, and it had this crazy hip configuration, and so we went to all these spots, and we'd skate all night long. And through Ian, he introduced me to Gio Moya, Rodney Torres. You know, and I was skating with all these fucking incredible kids at the time. Brian Wenning, Pappalardo.
Oh, sick.
None of them sponsored. You know, like, I was giving my old board to Brian Wenning because I had $7,000. I didn't give a fuck. I was buying a new board every day. I was burning through that $7,000. But so welcoming, and just felt like being with my mates back home. Yeah. And I really felt a part of the crew, as it were. And we skated like every spot, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens. Went out to Wenning's, which was in New Jersey somewhere, middle of nowhere. We skated some ice rink or roller skate rink. I remember going, there was loads of people skating there. Went up to some fucking comp in the back of beyond, upstate New York. Me and Ian, we're in the you know, the middle of nowhere now, and you know, we just look crazy, I think. But yeah, good fucking good times. And it was going back to your point, when did the sponsorship start? So I wasn't sponsored in '97. It was all on my own money. Skated with Five Borough guys, you know, skated with everyone pretty much. We skate all night, spots that you know were in mixtape. I can't remember if mixtapes had come out or it was due to come out, because I'd seen it, but I think I might have saw it there.
Mixtape was 97, wasn't it? Was it 97 or 98 mixtape?
I think it was 97. Yeah, I think I either saw it there or I'd just seen it, but it was in that timeline. You know, I saw like Loki and, you know, all the guys who were in it, and I, you know, I was like, fuck, you know, I'm here. This is the epicenter of this thing that is going on now, and I'm kind of in it. Skating Astor, they're all skating Astor. You know, people are saying hello to me. You know, I was fucking super stoked.
Yeah.
And I came back from New York, and pretty quickly, maybe the week after, there was a comp, the first Rampworks. So Rampworks location now, it's been there forever, but it was at a smaller location prior to that, near Oral Park. And there was a comp, and I went to the comp, and I just fucking, Ollie Todd was killing it. Who else was killing it at the time? Rem. Our friend Rem was fucking destroying it. He used to kill it. What's his name? Guy passed away. Really fucking good guy. Not Wingy. From Bradford Ways. Really.
Cookie
Cookie.
from Barnsley.
Fuck, so sick. Yeah. Cookie was killing it. And I remember just like landing everything I was trying,
Oh, nice.
flying about.
Yeah.
And it's because I'd skated for 3 months non-stop. So beforehand I'd try anything, couldn't land anything. Now my kind of ability caught up with my dedication or my stupidity, perhaps. So tricks that I couldn't land before I went, now my mates were like, what the fuck? And that kind of then spurred on interest. And I think the first John Dalton, I forgot to talk about John Dalton. I mean, you can't talk about Liverpool without talking about John Dalton, because now he was somebody that fucking used to kill it. So always good, always stylish, always had the freshest shit on, just looked good on his skateboard. So John was getting flowed fibre boards, and I think he probably spoke to the guys, or maybe someone asked, who do you think we should give boards to? And he'd mentioned me. And then I started getting flowed some fibre product from TKC, I think it was, who were the distributor at the time. And pretty quickly after that, I went back to New York, because I still had some of my $7,000 left. So I was back there again, and staying at my cousin's rent-free. And this time I got to link with Steve Rodriquez. So he lived at 10 Downing Street, which is his address in New York. I'm pretty sure it was 10 Downing Street, but he lived on Downing Street anyway, in New York. And it had the bubble banks. Don't know if you remember that people talk about it. They're like these small brick banks, kind of the same tile as the Brooklyn banks.
There you go. Is that it?
So
the address.
There you go.
10 Downing Street.
There he is. Yeah. So really plush apartments.
Yeah.
White carpet. I remember he had like this white carpet that no one could wear shoes. Or stacks of boards outside his apartment and shoes. And I remember staying at Steve's, and just like Ian as well. I obviously met with Ian this time as well, but Steve was just super welcoming. Took me round to every spot. I remember him taking me to the courthouse. They were filming, and I was like, I'm going to fucking kickflip into this. And I remember trying to kickflip into the courthouse spot for fucking hours. He posted a clip of it, and I was dying. I was flying off the side. I was fucking slamming. And I kind of half make one and slam, and and I never rolled away from it in my eyes. Steve said I did. I don't think so. But whatever. It was, the attempt was enough for me.
Steve was directly involved with fibre.
Steve owned and ran fibre. Yeah. So he invited me on a trip with them. We went upstate in this big fucking camper van. Tato, Perry, who else was on it? I can't remember everyone's name. I'd be making it up. But everyone who was on fibre at that time, we all went up there.
Yeah.
And I remember Long Island, the mayor of whatever town we were in took us out for a meal, and we were all there. And it was just a surreal experience for me. It was kind of probably a little bit what Geoff had a few years before, when he first went to America. But it was all the people I wanted to skate with. Susky, fucking Aaron Susky, incredible skateboarder, an amazing human being. And them all being so welcoming, and just being stoked that I was around and skating, and yeah, I felt a part of it. So Fibre was the first time that somebody outside of the flea pit, which was, I guess, my first sponsor. So I was getting flowed stuff through the flea pit, which was the skate shop in Liverpool at the time. One of those skate shops where you go in and they didn't really have a lot of product. And any board that you wanted had a reserve for Frosty or reserved for Hoppy, or so it was up, but you couldn't buy it because it had a reserve sticker on it. So yeah, the flea pit was probably the first time that anyone paid any attention to me skateboarding, I guess. and then Fibro was the...
To go from that to Fibro is a pretty big
that's...
step as well, because Fibro is like, it's still going now, isn't it, Fibro?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if it's the same
I'm not
people.
sure, but it probably isn't. I think it kind of merged into Zoo. A lot of people moved from Fibro over to Zoo York, you know.
Because you went over to Zoo York at one point as well, right?
I did, yeah. That was so. I mean, I felt really a part of something, and I loved the like when I was out in New York and the Fibro guys looked out for me. But when I came back to the UK, it was through TKC. I wasn't really feeling it. Those guys, I didn't know them at all. I knew nothing about them. And I didn't have any communication with the guys in New York. So it was always through them. And it just felt a little disjointed.
Similar to what Shipman said, it's not like now where no matter where you are, it's all joined together. It's like as soon as you're away from them, it's harder, isn't it? Because you're trying to live that hype of skating in New York with those dudes, but back home.
Yeah.
It's still going. Fibro.
Oh, there you go. Amazing.
Don't know who it's by though, but
I think they own it themselves by the look of it. It doesn't say anything about a discount on their website.
I want to say
it says copyright Fibro.
I think Wes was doing it.
Oh, okay.
Rock solid.
Okay.
I think somebody posted some of the Dan Wolf videos.
Yeah.
Eastern Exposure and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and like, there's something about that skating in there, the noise, the sounds.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know what mics they used or how it was. But yeah, there was definitely. I mean, it was familiar for a lot of us in the UK. The East Coast skateboarding.
Because it's rough, wasn't it?
If it sounded familiar, it looked familiar. And it was, you go outside, you go skating anywhere, any town centre, and it kind of had that feeling. Spots were a bit shit. It was often damp and wet.
Floors rough.
The skies weren't always blue like California. And I'm not taking anything away from Californian skateboarding or because obviously that's what drew us all to skateboarding.
Yeah. But it was kind of more relatable, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And like the tricks as well, and you know, it was like that was the changing of the guard almost, where it was like everything had gone ridiculously inconsistent flip stuff to going more towards simpler tricks but done very well. Yeah. You know, and then you had Dan Wolf documenting that right there. So
the Brooklyn Banks obviously was the sort of spot in New York where you'd meet, and I remember before the fence was there, so you know, I got to skate the wall. I got to go over the wall. You used to have to look for cars coming off the bridge because it was an exit ramp, and then you push and you'd be like, fuck, you know, the car coming.
I mean, I'd never been there, but those banks, it looked like they kind of went like that, and it was flat, and then the barrier, so you had to really.
But I was so used to skating because of the road lip skate park that I started skating in the 70s park in Southport. So and the you know the back part of it was there, the big banks, the little bank. So I saw Huff skate, which was fucking insane because Huff killed it. There's a spot there where he comes round the back of these benches and he ollies this big gap to the pavement. It's fucking nuts. Somebody posted it recently. DC Huff, this will have been at that time. Met Mike Cardona, Quim Cardona, Lennie Kirk.
Oh wow!
Lennie Kirk was fucking bonkers, and did he slam off the dumpster?
He hit his head,
he hit his head. So
bad.
I can understand what's going on. And
he was fucking raw.
But he was, honestly, that time code Lennie Kirk part was
it's one of my favourite parts.
Oh, and I still watch it to this day.
So do I.
Because he is fucking killing it. Like next level. And he came from nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. You know, nobody had heard of this kid before. He's got the last part in a fucking heavy lineup.
Prestigious video.
You know, heavy lineup. Alien Workshop vid. And his part's bonkers good. You know, really, really fucking good.
Hold on a second, we need to talk about who's sponsoring this episode of the Brain Train Show. Toby, take it away.
Today's sponsor is Slappy Trucks.
Slappy Trucks comes from the mind of Mike Sinclair and was created through the lockdown. he was messing around with his trucks and he thought, hold on, I might just have a way to make them a little bit better.
Slappy trucks provide the best grind clearance and slappy angle to keep your kingpins from the dreaded snag on Smiths, Feebles, Hurricanes, Bennett and Barley grinds, and has been measured by Professor Paul Schmidt. Slappy trucks have the quickest turn, the best grind clearance, less wheel bite, no braking time, and are 100% more fun. I'm currently riding the inverted Kingpin Hollow ones, and they're very nice, and I'm getting on great with them. They are sick.
Slappy trucks also have an incredibly large team, and some of our favourites are Mike Fraser, Leonardo Finkus, Abe Bethel, the Cab Killer Ira, and Arissa True.
They're also sorting out Will Sayer, Ben Plum, Liddy Strachan, Twiggy, Manny Haddon. Where can people find out about Slappy Trucks, Forde?
They can find them at Slappy Trucks on Instagram or www.slappytrucks.com, or simply head to Roller Snakes and just search Slappy Trucks and see how many we have in stock. Toby?
Back to the show.
Back to the show right
Back
now.
to the show.
Back to the show.
Back to
now.
the show.
I was also, and still are also, really into hip-hop music. And New York's like the, you know, it's
like the epicenter of the
it's
New
ground
York.
zero for fucking hip-hop music. And for me, just being there and hearing this and seeing it and all this music, going to Fat Beat Records, which was equally as revered as Supreme in terms of like it's the place to go. If you ever get a chance, you have to go there. Seeing Percy P outside selling CDs and just, you know, I was just everything
in your element.
Everything that I thought New York would be, it was that and way more.
Yeah.
And the spots were amazing. The people were amazing. Skateboarding seemed to go on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It didn't seem to stop.
Yeah.
You know, and every day you'd see some other professional or sponsored skater or somebody you'd heard of.
Yeah.
And yeah, getting the chance to skate with Quim and Mike, you know, non-fiction Quim Cardona is, you know, next level. They skate a spot together, Mike and Quim. It's like this off a wall, big steep bank, and I skated that with them. You know, all these spots that I'd always dreamed of skating, and I was there, I was skating them, and I was fucking stoked.
You were in the thick of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Big up Quim. Still to this day, Quim is just out there cruising.
Best dude.
It. Yeah,
Best dude.
It's amazing.
Yeah, best dude.
I talk to him here and there.
He's got such a recognisable style, isn't he? You can just you see silhouette of him. That's like
Well, that photo of him ollieing over the push bikes and his dreads are all out everywhere, and he's like tweaking it, and you've got the big, it's like the big square thing. I don't know where it is in New York, but it's I think it's in like a Kayla spot as well. It spins around. But he's like ollieing over it, and it's a long shot photo, and he's like, it's one of my favourite skateboarding photos.
And he would, oddly enough, we went to on a New Balance trip. Me and Aunt Claravel went skating. Aunt was working for New Balance at the time and was really good friends, still is really good friends with Quim, because Aunt's from New York. We went to the Brooklyn Banks. It was all closed off, so we couldn't skate. We walked round the corner, and there's Quim Cardona skating. So we hung out and we skated together for the afternoon, and I'd met Quim Cardona on a zoo trip that we'd done to the UK. So you know, I knew him. Incredible skateboarder. Again, amazing human being.
Yeah.
Fucking, you know, somebody who should be, you know, really held up in skateboarding.
In high regards.
He's done so.
I think he is with people our kind of age, and you know, it's probably dropping down into your sort of.
No, I've known him for a long. Yeah, I think maybe a couple of years younger than me probably don't know much about him.
That's
what I mean.
Sadly.
Like, there is that kind of generation that.
Was you skating for Zoo at the time, and he was skating for Zoo, or
yeah? So
how did that come around from?
So the TKC thing, I felt a bit disjointed from the sort of, when I was in America, it was amazing, and I felt part of Vibro back in the UK. Obviously, me and John were getting flow boards, and me and John would skate together in Liverpool, but that was it. There was nothing happening, and I don't know what. Well, I do know what the catalyst was. One of the first issues of Document, and there was a TKC advert, Fibro advert, and there was a picture of me doing a crook grind on a handrail, and they flipped the photo, so it was a switch crook grind.
Oh, congratulations.
On the handrail, which I'd never done, and I just wasn't. was not stoked.
Yeah.
No, of course not.
And
it
it doesn't matter. You know, it's not like I'm playing.
It does. It's like low-level fraud turning you into the switch crook guy when you. Yeah.
You think? Yeah. I mean, I didn't own it. I didn't stand by the. I didn't go. Yeah, I did the switch crook guy. You know, I was kind of.
But for them to do that.
But my mates were taking the piss out of me.
Oh,
you know?
right.
So that was the.
Yeah.
It was. I was kind of like, oh yeah, fuck that. So, I kind of was like, I'm not into this. So I wasn't really, and I just opened Lost Art, and I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So speaking to the guys at New Deal and Warrior, who were doing, said it was sort of a weird transition period, because I think I was getting zoo boards through Slam, actually. So that's when. So it was before the shop, actually.
So Slam were distributors for Zoo for a bit?
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Foz hit me up.
Yeah.
Asked me
Foz.
if
big up
Foz is the greatest. Honest, Foz has always looked out for me, and he's always been someone who's been in my corner, and I've got a lot of time for him. And he really looked out for me when I was starting the shop. But prior to that, he wanted to send me zoo boards, you know, and he would flow me boards, and I couldn't be more stoked, because zoo mixtapes had come out at this point in time. It was probably 98, and I was fucking hyped. I didn't really say anything to Steve Rodriquez, and I don't think we spoke about it at the time, and I think it was a bit of a surprise to him when I wasn't riding Fibro boards. So, you know, I felt pretty shit. Steve's the fucking best. Fibro was the best. That whole crew was so welcoming and so kind to me, looked out for me, let me stay at their place, took me on tour. They did a lot of good shit, and they were just real people, and I got a lot of time for all of them. And Steve, you know, he definitely gets his flowers off a lot of people, and I'm going to give him some more, because he's that guy. He is a fucking stand-up human being and a really good person. So Foz was sending me zoo boards from Slam, and I remember going to the warehouse at Slam, Latimer Road, I think it was. So went there, and I was like, whoa, this is fucking amazing. I think that was the first warehouse I've been to, skateboarding warehouse. So similar to your story about FaZe, I was like, how the fuck have you got all this stuff? This is like madness. But it was all the best shit. And Paul was still there, Paul Sumner. He was cool as fuck to me as well, and really looked out for me. All those guys were just really sound. But then Zoo, I don't know what happened with it, but it moved over to Warrior, which was the sister company of New Deal at the time. And that's when the shop was kind of first starting. So this was 99. So summer of 99, I'm guessing all this was happening. And then I started getting to product through Warrior. And I also started getting Lakai.
I was going to say, you started getting Lakai around that time. And you
so
were
Lakai, I remember going to Warrior. I remember going to meet everyone, the Fenchurch guys, because I'd got on Fenchurch, and Phil, the guy who did Fenchurch or design for Fenchurch, was showing me all the patterns, you know, for the garments, and talking me through stuff. And no one had ever done that before. You know, this was a real kind of like you know, moment for me, because I'd never really kind of understood or been talked through the process of designing apparel and what goes into a brand. And he took time to talk to me about it, because I was a team rider, and I guess he wanted me to kind of know. So I was getting Fenchurch. I think probably Seb was maybe the link there. Why I was on their radar anyway. Seb Palmer or Sebastian
Big up
Palmer.
Seb.
Big up Seb.
Big up Seb.
Big up Seb.
Big up Seb.
Another incredibly important human being in my life. And again, an unbelievably beautiful human being who does a lot for a lot of people. And he was a DC rep. I think he was the Fenchurch rep at the time. He had Sumo, which is arguably the best skate shop to have ever been in the UK, way ahead of its time.
Through the eyes of Ruby.
And very important for many reasons, and we'll probably talk more about that later. And yeah, Lakai hadn't started. I remember them talking about they're going to do this new shoe brand. It's Mike Carroll, it's Rick Howard.
You were the first European rider on the team, right?
I'm not sure if I was the first, but I was definitely like right there.
Yeah.
If not the first, I was one of. I probably was the first. I remember getting, because I was sample size, I remember them giving me sample Mike Carroll shoes. I remember I got the black and blue Mike Carrolls, and they were the, I know that people get so like when they nostalgic about Jordans and whatever shoe that they first fell in love with, but that Mike Carroll Lakai shoe was like, it looked incredible. It felt incredible on. Obviously, it's Mike Carroll. It's his company. I remember coming back to Liverpool and just feeling like I'd won the lottery. Zoo York boards, Venture trucks. I think I was getting maybe Octagon wheels through Phase. Everything seemed to just fall into place at that point in time. I
mean, that's a bunch of good sponsors to have as well.
Yeah. No,
especially Zoo. Like Zoo's like top tier.
Yeah. Zoo, and it was good Zoo.
Yeah, before the change.
It was good Zoo. So I was really kind of hyped to be skating at that point in time, and I think I started shooting for a Sidewalk interview with Leo at that point in time as well. So I was out skating all the time, going to different spots, and I was doing stuff that I was like, fuck, did I just do that? Like, that's, I can't believe I did manage to do a gap to tail slide at the spot in Manchester in front of the whatever that big fucking John Lewis sort of store is. I can't remember the name of it. Selfridges, sorry. And they pretty much skate stopped it the week after. So I was the only person to ever do anything over this gap, and it was probably the best thing I've ever done. In all honesty, it came pretty easy, and I can't believe it. In fact, I remember Leo was calling Ches. So Ches was filming Baines at the gasworks, and Leo was calling Ches saying, I think you should fucking come up here. I've done a Peter Kay moment there where you do the phone. I mean, my phone doesn't even fucking look like that anymore, but I actually just did that. And he was saying, you've got to come up here and try and film. And then I'd landed it. And it was like, then we went and met them at gasworks, and they were fucking arguing. Like, really, because Ches and Leo used to, sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place.
That's right, it's good.
But Ches and Leo used to fucking go at it, because Ches would get his Ches mat out and he'd be right in the fucking spot.
The Ches mat.
The Ches mat, he'd be there with his Ches mat, and I think I was trying to nose slide the hubber at gasworks, and Ches had his Ches mat down, and Leo was trying to shoot a photo, and they started arguing, and then the Ches mat was fucking flung down, and there was, some words were definitely said. Big up both those human beings.
Two absolute legends.
Leo and Ches.
The Ches mat.
And Baines too. I forget where I was going with.
What were we talking about? Shooting. You were shooting something with Leo for an interview.
Yeah. So and you were talking about that list of sponsors. It just it seemed to all happen at that moment in time, and I opened the shop same time.
Yeah.
And whatever was happening was just I was in the moment.
Doing it right.
And it was working for me. I was enjoying skateboarding, and I was relatively injury free, I think, at that point in time.
Yeah.
And stuff was coming fairly fast because I was skating a lot more. So
opening Lost Art, what'd you say, 99?
99, yeah.
So how did that come about? What were you thinking, and you know, how did that process
So
happen?
I was working in a factory, and I've told this story a few times, but me and my friend were working in a denim factory in Southport. It was actually a laundry that used to be the laundry for a mental institute,
right?
And that the mental institute might well have still been a mental institute. The people that were working in there, you know, myself included. That had closed, and the laundry had been converted into they would dye denims and you know, repackage it, and we did a lot of work with Marks and Spencers, like ironing the creases into chinos, and it was a really fun job, but really hard work.
Yeah.
And I worked there for a few years. My cousin got me the job there, and it was a Christmas Eve. We were expecting our Christmas bonus. We were all sat in the canteen. I remember everyone was, you know, buzzing because it was Christmas. We were getting our bonus. We were off probably till the new year.
Yeah.
So it was fucking happy days. You know, Oasis were out and it was fucking party time. Wonderwall was out on the radio or whatever time it was. And it was our P45s.
No.
Yeah, so we all got made redundant, and none of us fucking knew. They were moving the factory to India. And we'd all been given our P45s, and that was it. So it was a bit of a downer, to say the least. So that was the first time that I'd signed on. I think maybe I'd signed on like briefly, but I'd always gone from job to job at that point in time. Me and my friend Aid Newton, who was from Chichester, but this is a crazy story. So he went to college in Chichester. He went to school in Chichester. He was applying for art colleges. There was an art college that took his, you know, he noticed straight away because he's from down south, Southport. He saw this art college. It looked like it had everything that he wanted in terms of the course, and he applied and he got in.
Yeah.
But he didn't know where the fuck Southport was. And it was only after the fact that he realised that it was, you know, 25 miles north of Liverpool.
Yeah.
And he came up. So he came up from Chichester and he started living in Southport. And we became instant friends and lifelong friends, still friends to this day. So me and Aid both got made redundant at the same time, both signed on at the same time. And we just were talking about what to do because we were like, it's the winter. We've been on the piss every night probably the whole way through. Christmas is great, New Year's great because everyone's having a good time, but now it's January and everyone's gone back to school, college, and it's a bit fucking bleak. So we were talking about what should we do, and I don't know whose idea it was, but we got to talking about going on a road trip anyway, and we were talking about going to Europe. I'd never been to Europe skating before. And my dad hadn't learnt to drive yet, even though my cousin was a driving instructor and gave me free lessons for my 18th birthday, and I didn't take him up on it. Don't know why.
Do you still not?
I drive now, yeah. Even though I got a train here today, I do drive. But
to the wrong station. To
the wrong station, yeah. Not the wrong station. It happens to be the closest station to here. Closer than Derby, I heard. But my dad gave me his old car, Austin Montego. Yeah. Electric blue, fucking brilliant car. Yeah. And it was immaculate. And by immaculate, I mean it looked like it just come off the forecourt. But it was probably, at this point in time, 10, 15 years old. Yeah. Is he going to pull up a picture of an Austin Montego?
He is. Anyway, this is what producer Fraser does.
Look at this.
I do more than just Google pictures of cars, I'll have you know, but...
That's pretty much what he does.
That's what he does.
Whenever someone mentions a car,
it wasn't the estate. It was the one at the top there. Yeah, similar to that.
Look at that.
Oh, it was beautiful.
That was a pussy wagon if I've ever seen one.
I don't know about that, but it was a free car, but I couldn't drive. Yeah. But Aid could. So Aid got insured on it, and we started to hatch a plan of action and what we were going to do. We talked about going to France because his uncle worked on some guy's estate in the winter while the guy was wherever. He, obviously looked after the estate, kept the gardens and whatever else in the south of France. So we drove from from Southport to Chichester first, stayed for a week or so in Chichester. Then we drove to the ferry at probably Dover, I would guess, over to Calais, and then drove straight down through France. We didn't have a fucking pot of glue what we were doing, where we were going, other than we had this address and a map.
Yeah.
You try and make notes, but you just had a big map. And I was the map guy, and he's like, which way? And I was like, because we were, so just to go back a bit, obviously the only money we had was our last dole checks, or a couple we'd saved. So I'm talking about 160 quid at this point in time, and it wasn't the euro yet, so we had to get francs for France. And I remember we were like, let's not go on the fucking péage, the motorways, because we ain't got no money, so let's not go on the. But every pissing road led to a péage, so we were always on these motorways, and we pull up to the booth, and they were manned booths at these time, and obviously because we're in an English car, I'm the guy on the side that the person speaks to, and in true fucking Del Boy pidgin English French, I would try and communicate to them. Don't know, mate. We're not from round here. We just drove onto this road. We don't be, and we'd be there for a couple of minutes, and then they'd just be like, lift the barrier and let us through, because who can be asked with these two English divvies. So we managed to make it down to it's called Alais-les-Bains or Alais-les-Bains, but it was near Carcassonne, was like the main town that it was near, south of France, and the first two people we saw skating were not Jehovah's, it might have been Jehovah's Witnesses. They were Americans, these two guys skating, but they happened to be in France because they were Jehovah's Witnesses. So we tagged along with them for a bit till we were like, oh, these guys are fucking, let's just get off and do our own thing. So we kept skating, but we were working on with his uncle, on the estate, and he had us bailing out the fucking water from the swimming pool, and it was February, but it was sunny and nice. It was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. So we worked there for a week, and he gave us probably 80 quid each or whatever. He gave us a few quid, wasn't that much. And then we drove straight from there to Barcelona. I'd never seen Barcelona footage before until we saw an article in, I think it was Dogway, maybe the magazine. We saw a magazine in the skate shop in Carcassonne. And we were like, let's go there. Fuck. And then we looking at the map, Pyrenees, fucking, no problem. We'll drive in, we'll do this, and we'll fucking, where we're going to stay, don't matter, we've got a car, we'll stay in the car.
Yeah, got a roof.
And we eventually got to, this story's going to go on, by the way, sorry about that. Right. We eventually got to Sants. We didn't realise that every fucking station is called a Stachio something. So we were looking for it. It's a Stachio. But station is Stachio Sants, and obviously it's the main one. We eventually found it, and in '97, certainly no one I knew had been to Sants, and we pulled up, and everyone was fucking ripping the spot, the tables. All the tables were intact, and Enrique Lorenzo was there, fucking. Jesus Fernandez.
Oh, amazing! What a good skater.
Everyone, Raul Navarro was just this little kid. Everyone destroying it, tech as fuck, all with little tiny World Industry boards and tiny venture trucks. And obviously we were all skating like East Coast setups that were bigger and chunkier. And everyone was tech as fuck. I was like, this is incredible. Like, what a place.
What was the level of consistency with the stuff at that point, with the tricks?
For them?
Yeah.
Everything, every go. Ridiculous. Lines of like 10 trick lines. Like, ridiculous.
Hazes is still like that as well to this day.
But I'd never seen that kind of skateboarding before, ever. It was, and nor had Aid, and we would just sit there and be like, what the fuck? You know, everyone seemed to be like pro level, California pro level. You know what I mean? Like every trick was popped, every trick was good, and we could skate, but we didn't skate like that spot like them, which probably was good. But that's probably why they were stoked, because we were out of towners, and probably not a lot of out of towners came to Barcelona at that point in time, and B, we were sleeping in our car at the spot for 2 weeks, washing in the toilets in Sant Station, hanging our bills out to dry in the back seat of the car, for the sun to dry them in during the day. And we had no money. We were eating. We worked out that Swiss roll was the for value for money. It was the most filling, cheapest thing we could buy. So we'd have Swiss roll for breakfast. And we'd buy cheese and ham and the bread, obviously. Yeah. And that's what we would live on for the 2 weeks that we were there.
I'm trying to think back, because Transworld, I think it was Transworld, they ran an article about Barcelona. They did. And that was like the first kind of like...
they did. And I think that was around 97 too. Yeah. And I think Kareem had a picture that Skin might have shot, I don't know.
Possibly.
Where he's only
was in that as well,
out the side over a car. He's doing a 180 over a car.
I don't know. I just remember that article. That was kind of like, whoa, Barcelona. And then that was when it started.
But that's around that time. And we just happened, we weren't going to go to Barcelona. We just happened to see this magazine, figured out it wasn't too far. Yeah. Across the Pyrenees and fucking wherever. Who cares? Let's go. We're on a mission. Yeah. So we ended up there. We got to see all this incredible skateboarding. And again, everyone was cool as fuck, even though I couldn't understand them. They couldn't understand us. But it was good times. Yeah. And then we came back from so whilst we were away, we started to think about, right, well, when we go home, what the fuck are we gonna do? Now Aid had started talking about going and doing teacher training, because he wanted to be an art teacher, and I was like, I don't fucking know what I want to do. All I've done my life thus far is go skating, work a job to afford me to go skating, get pissed. I'm living at my mum's, paying whatever for rent. It's not that much. And there's no real pressure on me to change. So I started to think, 99. This was not 97. 97 was New York. So this was February 99. Just to correct the timeline. So by this point, I'd not seen anybody skating in Barcelona. 99, obviously, Thrasher or Transworld. Gons had a picture in fucking 88 or whatever, skating out front. So 99 when we went to France and Barcelona. And then I was like, the flea pit's closed. I might try and open a skate shop when I get back. How do you open skate shops? I've no idea. Got back to the UK after this trip. It was kind of like a one of them moments in your life where you kind of start to think about what you're going to do for the next part of your life. Grow up, as your mum and dad would say. It's in that time that you started to grow up. My mum's Irish, by the way, and she looks like Yoda. She doesn't look like Yoda, but she's the same size. So I was going to try and grow up, and I thought about opening a skate shop. Got back, didn't have any clue how to do it. Went to speak to a small business advisor guy who was really, really open and honest about stuff. And, and he kind of talked me through what I needed to do. Look, you need to go to the Prince's Trust, but in order to get a grant from the Prince's Trust, you've got to be you've got to be denied a loan from a bank, which won't be hard because you got fuck all money, no fucking prospects, and no one's going to give you shit. And it turned out it wasn't hard. The bank gave me a no straight away, so I was straight on the ladder. And the Prince's Trust, you know, then once you're a part of them, they start to run you through the various steps on how to apply for funding and what you kind of need to do to open a shop. And I think if my memory serves me right, I think I got $5,500 grant from the Prince's Trust, which was the most they could give you. And I think they put me through to another kind of like, you know, business sort of charity that would assist, and I got a £1,500 loan from them, so £7,000. Oddly enough, the same amount of money that I went to America with in terms of dollars.
So I'd say that'll be about 13 if you want to go back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I should have thought, right, fuck it, I'm going back to the States, rent free at my cousin's. And big shout out to Derek, by the way, Derek Mackey, who really looked out for me while I was in New York as well, and let me live rent free all the time. Never asked for anything. And then so with $7,000, Quiggins, which is obviously where Danzy had his shop, where the flea pit was. You know, I knew the building, I knew the people. Spoke to the guys that ran it. They found me a plot which was in the same floor as Danzy's first shop, so the top floor. Probably the shittest part of the building. Obviously, everyone's got to walk to the very top, so it was really cheap. I remember being in the top left corner, and next door to me was a Beatles memorabilia shop, and I remember really fucking hating Beatles music for a long time because the only album this guy would play is the "She Loves You," yeah, and that was non-stop. It's like he couldn't play any other album. It was just that, you know. And it used to drive me mad, but that's all we would hear from next door. It was another girl opened a kind of, you know, gift shop, but came and went. There was two girls opened an underwear shop, you know, Victoria's Secret style, which is pretty bizarre up on that top floor. But yeah, we opened there 99. My dad came in, helped me, you know, put a changing room in, which was basically just a block of wood, two before, or what, I know, 4x8 or whatever it is, with a bar and a curtain. It was all blue. Put a TV stand up. We had a video TV, which was so heavy, ridiculous. And the screws he put in the wall were about this big to make you know, proper dad style. That's not coming down that.
Hanging off it.
No shit, it's not. It's still there.
That ain't going nowhere.
So yeah, hanging off it.
Yeah.
And Foz, like I say, looked out for me. Got product in from New Deal, Warrior, Slam. The shoes we opened with were Vita, Action, and then Lakai, DC. So like, you know, we had the dope shit right from the jump. 4-star clothing.
I miss 4-star.
It was amazing, and it really just started around that time as well. I don't think it was too old at that point in time. Aesthetics, clothing. It was quite sparse. We didn't have a lot of money, obviously. Like I say, $7,000 doesn't go anywhere. And just opened the doors on whatever day it was in summer of 99.
And where did the name come from?
So the name came from like anyone, trying to think of a name for whatever it is, any brand, child, shop, whatever. You think of a name, you tell somebody the name, they laugh, and you go, "Oh, that's shit. I thought it'd be a boss name." So I probably had, I did have a notebook, which I wish I still had, but it had fucking hundreds of names in
Can you remember any of the other ones?
I remember 4 Down was in there, and I remember that because obviously Scott opened 4 Down. Down since...
Big up Scott Palmer.
Absolutely. Another like, incredible human being.
Yeah.
One of the most gifted skateboarders incredible talent. Amazing person as well. Scott is down to earth, humble.
Lovely dude.
Never really give a fuck about it. You know, he was just into his life, his wife, his kids, and skateboarding was a thing that he loved to do. Just happened to be incredibly fucking good at it. Scott's the best. So 4 Down was on there. Down Since 11, I think, was down there because I started skating at 11 years old, which is a shit name. I can't.
Down Since 11.
You know, like all these DS11 or whatever. Got the grant, got the go ahead. You know, everything's in place, but obviously you got to start your business name, and I couldn't fucking think of a name. I was trying to think of something. They all sounded a bit shit, or if I told my mates, they all laughed, and I was like, oh. Because the reason I was opening the shop was basically a place where my mates could hang out, you know, buy a skateboard, get pissed if they can, and loiter. Yeah, of course. I mean, that was the premise for it. And you know, we could buy some. You know, they could come and buy products, and I wasn't even thinking beyond that. Went to there was a hip hop night in Liverpool called No Faking, which my good friend Paddy runs or ran at that point in time. He's actually called Paddy No Faking. He's been called Paddy No Faking forever. And he had this little known group from Oxnard, California called Loop Pack, which is the tape right behind me, Pieces of Sound Pieces, which is a kind of mixtape of tracks off the album that was going to come out called Sound Pieces.
Do you want to just pull it off the wall and show it to the camera for us?
Yeah. Which camera do you want me to show?
This one straight in front of you. There we go.
All right, okay. And so the track listing on the back of that, this isn't the original tape that I got. They were throwing out these tapes at the show. And I did have one and I lost it or it's in the loft at my mum's somewhere. But Paddy put out a post some years ago and asked if anyone had one. I was going to buy it off him, and someone came through and had this tape. But track 4 on there is Lost Art. And I remember listening to this. For those who don't know who Loop Pack are, it's the group that Madlib is from. Madlib is this incredibly world-renowned producer, and they actually did. Madlib is also Quasimodo, who is a character that he comes up with when he raps, because he didn't like his voice when he raps. So he raps in this kind of like higher pitched sort of voice. He puts a sort of filter over his own voice, and it's the voice of Quasimodo. And I remember being at that show and just being like, these guys are fucking incredible. And the show was amazing, the album's amazing, and it was groundbreaking for many reasons. But track 4 on that was Lost Art, and I remember listening to the 12-inch at home. I remember holding the tape. It was the B-side of another track, and I was like, Lost Art's kind of a pretty fucking good name.
Yeah.
L and A letters like LA, like Dodgers. I could see that. Yeah. So I was kind of like, like Lost Art skate shop. You know, it's a shop that, if you hark back to the shops that we remember growing up, I kind of wanted it to look and feel like that. Just a hangout spot with a place for your mates to fucking toss around in, really. And you know, that's where it came from. But
it's a fucking good name, and the logos and clothing you've put out over the years, some of it's amazing. Some guys who I really need to shout out, Nick and Andy, the Law Brothers. Yeah. So they had a clothing company called Lord, and again they were guys who just were from Liverpool, but they were doing their own thing. It was kind of BMX and skate. They both BMX'd and skated, or one of them was a BMX and one was a skater. I can't remember, but they were always around. They were always cool as fuck. They always were. They would drop knowledge on you. They would
tell you what you needed to know. You know, they would guide you, and they really looked out for me as well when I started the shop. And you know, they produced. I actually think the Lost Art Liverpool, the first LA logo, I'm almost certain they designed that and came up with that for me, and they produced some, you know, t-shirts and jackets with it on for me, and they basically just did, you know, they were just there for me, you know, and they really opened that door, and you know, gave me the confidence to kind of do it, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was from Southport, so I wasn't from Liverpool, but I opened a skate shop in Liverpool, which is a fucking tough city to do anything in.
Yeah.
I not that I felt like an imposter. That thought never came into my head. And it was only years later, talking about this with friends, that I'd be like, oh shit, is that kind of how people saw it? Because I didn't think anyone thought anything of it. I was a skater who skated in Liverpool, opening a shop, and everyone was kind of looking out for me. When I went to get when I wanted a sign doing, I remember reaching out to Nicky Ryan, who I spoke about before, graffiti artist, skateboarder, and he'd not been around for a number of years. But I got in contact with him probably through Kev Banks, and Nicky was super stoked to be asked, and did me the sign on a piece of board, spray painted, and I was so fucking stoked.
Have you still got that?
Yeah, I think it's at my mum's. I've seen it, but I haven't seen it for many years. So you know, I hope I still have it. I really do. I've got pictures of it, and Nicky said I could paint that again, no problem. Yeah. But just to have that for me, kind of like was the stamp of approval, because one of the best skateboarders to ever have come from Liverpool, you know, had sort of done the shop sign for me, and was you know, kind of in my corner. So I felt like, you know, unstoppable at that point in time. So I wasn't really thinking about anything. I was just going forward. I liked the name. Didn't really give a shit if anybody else didn't like the name. It happened that everyone who heard the name was like, "Oh, you got the best name for a skate shop."
Yeah, it's
I was
good.
like, "Is it?" I don't
It's
know.
really good.
I really like it, but that's where it came from.
Nice.
Loot Pack. So shout out to Loot Pack for throwing out
for
tapes.
the inspiration.
Throwing out tapes and having a track on the album called Lost Art.
Yeah, over the years you've had some big names on the team. Who were the first guys that were representing Lost Art, and where are you at to now?
First guys were just everyone around the crew.
Yeah.
You know, so everyone was kind of on, even if they weren't. You know, everyone was just a part of it. Everyone had a sticker on their board. I remember my friend Mike, who does a brand called Longshot from Manchester. He made me. Oh no, Mike didn't make the stickers, but there was a sticker on his couch. That's why it's coming into my head. So we basically ripped off the Supreme sticker. So to come full circle, it was just a red sticker with white text. It looked like a Colgate fucking sticker, actually. It didn't really look like a Supreme sticker. But the guys who made the stickers, and I wish I could remember who it was, because I picked them up at Radlands. So everything's full circle here. And the red vinyl was separate to the white letters. So the letters were cut out, die cut, and stuck onto these red background stickers. So it was so bizarre.
Yeah.
They were fucking amazing, these stickers. So that was our first kind of like logo, and I remember everyone having them on in town. Everyone who skated in the city at the time. So obviously Howard was a part of it. There was a video that came out by a guy called Fred Bizombe.
Yeah, French Fred.
Who's not the French Fred who filmed flip videos, etc. Is
different.
A different French Fred. Yeah. From France, called Fred, lived in Liverpool. We used to think he was a James Bond villain because he worked in lasers. He builds lasers. Some fucking crazy job. Really, you know, John Winter moved to Liverpool same time, so John was on, Dalton was on, Howard Cook was on, Joel O'Connor was on. Joel was around Liverpool still at that point in time. He hadn't moved to London yet. he was doing lots of graphic design for Document, so he was doing stuff for the shop as well. Basically everyone who was around the crew at the time. South African Sean, so Sean Withrup, was living in Liverpool.
The name,
Amazing skateboarder. Who moved to Liverpool to stay with his uncle, who was I think he was a golf pro at some golf course, and he stayed there. And Sean was an incredible skateboarder, still is. Moved to London many years ago. Was on Addy for a time. But yeah, Sean was there. I hope I'm not missing anyone because I'd be gutted. But Ash Wilson, obviously, the guy who got me back skating, another lifelong friend who worked in the shop, has always ripped. And everyone was just down for representing it. I think people believed in what I was trying to do. I think people liked it. We weren't trying to push some message. It was just kind of a group of mates doing something good. And Liverpool had always been a kind of, oddly, people used to think Liverpool was like this gnarly place you can't go. You're going to get beat up. Your board's going to get stolen. Your car's going to be on bricks. Scousers will just nick everything you've got. And that's kind of the perception people had who hadn't visited Liverpool. And I really wanted to kind of break down those barriers because I knew Liverpool was the friendliest place on fucking earth. It was such a great place to be. And I really felt that people should fucking come and see what I see. And they did. It's a great place.
Well, talking of Lost Art, you had a shoe a while ago with New Balance. It was red.
I did.
Did you design?
I didn't.
No.
So that shoe was Tom Knox had just got on New Balance.
Because it was red, wasn't it?
And Tom was working on a numeric shoe and a colourway of a shoe. And Tom was the numeric shoe was gonna be white leather with a red suede end, and I think it had some sort of England connection. I can't remember why red and white, but I think it was a sort of England flag. And this numeric shoe never happened, so there was going to be Tom shoe was going to be the white leather, red suede end numeric, and the Lost Art shoe was going to be the red suede, white leather end, made in Flimby factory in the Lake District, lifestyle football shoe. The numeric shoe got cancelled, so we just got left with this red suede football shoe, and we weren't allowed, because New Balance were sponsored. New Balance sponsored Liverpool Football Club at the time. We weren't able to tell it as a Liverpool shoe, football shoe. Right. So they wouldn't allow us to make any reference to it. My idea was to frame it around the crowd, around the people that supported Liverpool Football Club, and not necessarily about Liverpool Football Club. So we had to kind of get it into the story somehow. So Rob Matheson, who's done so many amazing graphics for Lost Art. Rob is just one of the best artists ever. One of the best skate artists ever, for sure. I would send him pictures of friends, and he would, illustrate them and would put them in the crowd scene in the Cop. There's Paddy Pello, who you met at in Swansea. Yeah. There's Clifford Biscuits, who was the Etnies TM for some time. Jeff's good friend. There's Geoff Rowley there. There's my friend John T. Luke, who works in the shop. There's me and Baxter, my son. There's my friend Haggis, who I skated with forever, and that's his stepdad, who had a banner saying Rafa too good for Chelsea. And oddly enough, Rob Matheson is a Chelsea fan and really didn't want to draw this because it took the piss out of Chelsea at the time. This is a shoe was a take on a banner that would be seen in the Cop. There's Rob, drew himself in a blue Lost Art shirt instead of red for Chelsea. Tom Tanner. So basically, all the friends, family of the shop, we sent illustrations over. Charlie Birch, Ollie Birch, I think that's their granddad there, Matty Lambert, a good friend who films for Red Bull. And then that was the insert for the shoe. And again, New Balance were adamant that we couldn't talk about Liverpool Football Club for the launch. And I'm like, it's a fucking red shoe. Like, how are we not going to talk about Liverpool Football Club? People are going to... So they didn't want us to have this as the insert. So Numeric made these inserts. The actual shoe comes with another insert, and you take that out and put that in.
Yeah.
And then when we did the launch of the shoe, I invited people from New Balance UK to the launch. And on the wall, we had a fucking massive one of them. And I could see them all like, what the... We said you couldn't use that, but we got away with it. Better to ask for forgiveness, as it were. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a really nice thing that everyone kind of got behind, and kind of that's what I've always wanted Lost Art to be. It's kind of open arms, open doors, anyone welcome, and that kind of epitomises it for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the best moments was going to the factory in Flimby.
Is that still there?
It's still there, yeah. So we went there. I forget the factory's manager's name at the time. I'm gutted. I can't remember him because he was really, really cool. They basically rolled out this red suede for us, and they were like, okay, this is going to be the suede that we're using. And then we watched that roll of suede go round each point in the factory. We followed it round. Matty Lambert was filming it's in the commercial that we shot for the shoe, and we left the fucking factory with 6 pairs of shoes to skate in for the edit. It was incredible. And I don't know any other brand that could do that for you. No. It was a special moment, and again, something that I'll always remember. Tom was super stoked that we were able to finish the project for him, because obviously his part of the project got canned, and we were able to bring it to life, and I personally think we did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, fucking right.
And that's the new one as well that's coming out.
So again, another full circle moment is that Tom's signature model, the 600, which is an indoor court inspired shoe. We're doing a version of that for the shop, which comes out, or should be out now, actually, in December.
Let's have a little look-ski at it. Let me see what we've got.
This one.
What's the other one?
It's in the black bag, I think, down there.
It's fucking rad being able to do things like that. Like, you just like putting shoes on a table.
Got the little crocky here as well.
Yeah. So that, because we opened in '99, that was inspired by the Circa Chad Musker shoe, which again was, I think, in that sort of time frame, and it had that rubber bumper Circa logo. So we wanted to this doesn't come with the regular 600, so we put this rubber croc in the crocodile skin N.
Yeah, the crocodile skin end's nice. All the little detailing around it's really nice.
And it's subtle, and it's not a colourway that Tom would ever pick, but it's a colourway that he absolutely loves. And when I showed him, obviously I've sat with this for some time. Didn't know how Tom would didn't know how he'd take it or receive it, and he absolutely loved it. And to do something for Tom that there's not too many European skateboarders that have had their name on a shoe, and Tom is in an elite group, which obviously Arto, Penny, Geoff, Wainwright had a Vans yet. What's his name? Ali Boulala.
The Osiris leopard print.
But there's not many.
Yeah.
Did Bastian have a shoe? So I think
don't know
if he did. Maybe
he might have one now in Cariuma, but
but less than 10. Count on one hand, pretty much. Thank you.
When there's a chance to do like a black and green shoe, that can be the Brain Drain X New Balance.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe we should get a Brain Drain collab shoe. We can make that happen, right, Mackie?
Yeah, maybe. Speak to Seb.
All right.
Big up Seb.
Big up Seb. He's the plug.
So Lost
Start,
covering the shoes, the rich history, team riders, etc., etc. You want to give a shout out to some?
Well, we didn't really cover any team riders.
Oh, we didn't actually, did we?
We could go back to that.
Let's go back to team riders and then let's go back
who's
into
riding
your
for it now.
inspiration and mentioning
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So team over the years and now.
Team, Lost Start team.
You had some pretty good
You mentioned all the
riders.
first guys in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you've had some big names.
Yep.
Chima.
Chima.
Jeff,
Rowley.
obviously.
Yeah. Jeff. Chima was a mad one because Chima turned up to a Bright trade show in a Lost Art hoodie. And I was like, what the fuck? Chima Ferguson's wearing a Lost Art hoodie. That's insane. And obviously, I think maybe Wainwright, he reached out to Wainwright and got one, or Jeff, I can't remember. But Chima, Jeff, for obvious reasons, Tom Knox, Chewy Cannon,
Ben Raymond.
Karim, the legend Ben Ramers, absolutely. Barney Page,
Rad.
it goes on and on and on. There's too
Heavy
many.
roster.
Vaughan Jones, Rory Jones, Guy Jones,
All the Joneses.
Chris Jones. Let's not forget Chris Jones, because we wanted to do some sort of keeping up with the Joneses. We never did. That's something that we should do.
That would have made like a good little video. You know what I mean? Like each one has a part or something.
Yeah. And I think perhaps that's something we should definitely do.
Yeah.
Chris Jones, phenomenal skateboarder, still to this day.
Absolutely.
And it's not like I go out asking people to ride for the shop. They more often than not come to me and
gravitate
and
towards
say, would it be all right if I ride for Lost Art? And I'm like, really? Fuck yeah. I mean, so, and that kind of comes along with the kind of open door, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
You know who's going to be asking you to ride for Lost Art next? So now you just said that.
Go on. I was going to say
Toby. I was thinking Toby.
Yeah.
I was looking at you.
I mean, yeah, why not?
All right.
I'd ride
Brain
for
Drain
That's it.
podcast.
Are we on? Lost Art?
I'd ride for
You might
Lost
well
Art.
be. Yeah, you might well be.
And then you said you wanted to mention sort of
Yeah, I mean,
inspirations
we were talking about the shop opening and why I opened the shop, and of course I was unemployed with no other ideas to do what to do with me time, because I wasn't a sponsored skateboarder. It hadn't even it had kind of happened, the Fibro thing and going into zoo, but it wasn't paying me anything. And I did need to find a job. And I kind of, not that I was fed up of working in supermarkets and factories, because it's fucking ace. It's such a good laugh, and you meet so many funny people. But I did think, what could I do? And I wanted to open a skate shop. And I remember meeting Bingo, Mischief, and Bingo, rest in peace, another legendary character of UK skateboarding, kept so many people skating. And I watched what he did, how he conducted himself. He looked out for everyone. He wanted to involve everyone. And sumo was the very same. I saw a lot in what Bingo did with Mischief, and I saw a lot of what Seb was doing with sumo, and obviously at this time, 99, Seb had assembled arguably the best fucking squad in UK shop team skateboarding. I think Shire was definitely on there.
Scott Palmer
was on there.
John
Baines,
Winter.
obviously. Winter, yeah.
Young Louis Slater.
Louis Slater was on there.
Yeah. So their team of how he looked at what a skate shop should be. It was more like a brand. Than a shop. And then Mischief was kind of like looking after the scene and tending to it. And I kind of looked at what Seb and Bingo were doing, and I really, really kind of leaned into that when I thought about opening Lost Art. And that was, they were the head and shoulders above anyone else. They were the two guys I was looking for inspiration. And I've said this before to somebody that I'm not sure what the catalyst was, but that kind of time frame, 98, 99, a lot of our staple UK stores opened, 50-50, Note, myself, Casino came and went, but they opened around the same time. So I don't know what that
Casino,
I don't know what that catalyst was, why we all felt we could open skate shops, but we did.
Well, it's probably like the time, our sort of generation started skating in late 80s, skating through, and by that point you're kind of you're in it for life, and you're like, what's the next stop? Next stage is
if it's not sponsored skateboarding, if it's not working in the industry, what is it? And I guess for me that was my kind of, not that I thought about I wanted to be in the industry still. I opened the shop for the reasons I explained. I definitely wanted a place for me mates to hang out, and I didn't really have another clue of what I was going to do. I knew that sponsored skateboarding wasn't really a route for me at that point in time. I definitely didn't think I was going to move to London or move to America. So yeah, Liverpool was where I was going to call home, and opening a skate shop just seemed like the right thing to do at the time.
The next logical step, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
What tips would you give somebody who's thinking about opening up a skate shop now?
I mean, the economic climate is pretty shit at the moment, and I know that a lot of people aren't doing as well as they perhaps once were. There's a lot of store owners kind of talking about, is this it for them, because they're all reaching that sort of 50 years of life, midlife, where you sort of reflect on the past, and often people are like, do I want to be doing this till I'm I've got no pension, etc. Questions that you do ask yourself around this time, but there has to be a new generation comes through. There has to be skate shops. They have to exist. And for kids wanting to do it, it's so easy to start a bedroom brand, on your phone, shoot the photos on your phone, sell it on whatever platform you choose to sell it on, and make a few quid. But it doesn't really contribute to anything beyond yourself or a couple of your friends. So for those kids, I'll definitely say, just give it a go. There's so many people that you can lean on for advice now. My door is always open to talk to people about the various steps. There's so many distributors. There's so many brands. Yes, there are stores, and yes, there are bigger stores, but there's a real need for that youth, that energy in skateboarding, and I don't know where it's going to come from, but I really hope it happens soon, because I feel we need it. I think skateboarding needs that new energy. That's not just a new brand. I think there needs to be new shops, new scenes, and just shit going on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move over to covers. How many covers you had, and do you have them framed?
And have you signed them to yourself?
I did sign them.
Are they hanging up in your bathroom at home?
No, they're not anymore. They were before a couple of moves ago. I can't remember the last time we had them up, but first cover was
Document.
It was, and it was I actually shot that cover in the winter. In fact, most of my photos have always been in the winter. I don't know why that is.
What was the first one? First cover?
Document. It was an ollie. It was like an in and out on Seal Street. So behind the fence and then back out over the fence. I'm wearing gloves and a t-shirt, which is quite a strange mix. It was the dead of winter. I was really cold, but I was also dead hot. So I kept the gloves on and rocked a t-shirt. I wanted to represent my friend. My friend had a company called Militia. The guy Mike who has Longshot now. He had I still call him Militia Mike. He had a clothing company called Militia, and it was basically hand stitched graphics onto t-shirts, and I've got a Militia t-shirt on. And I'm wearing a pair of Nikes that I got from notice I said Nikes, not Nikes. I did get pulled up on that one time in Amsterdam.
What, for not saying Nike?
They asked me to say Nike, and I didn't get whether they were joking or serious. And I said, I don't say bike. I don't say bikey. I say bike. So Nikes, and I bought them from a sports shop. They weren't. This was after Lakai finished, and again, I kind of didn't handle that situation because I was injured for a long time, and I wasn't skating, and I didn't speak to Matt Anderson or anyone at Warrior to say I wasn't going to ride for Lakai anymore. Yeah. And again, that kind of came as a surprise to them when I had a cover wearing a pair of Nikes, and so sorry, Matt, that I never said anything.
I'm sure he's forgiven.
I hope so. But yeah, I had to wear high tops because my ankles were really fucked at this time. So they were probably laced up tight as hell. And Seb had just got the job at SB and was going to the States, and he took that magazine with me on the cover to the States, and I was the first European SB team rider.
Yeah.
Rad.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because of that.
What a nice thing of Seb to do as well.
He's the best.
Take that out. Yeah.
Like I said, he's instrumental in my life. He's always looked out for me, and you know I owe so much to him. Yeah,
Seb's sick. Big up, Seb.
Again,
yeah, for the 50th time.
Your most famous cover was the frontside rock, wasn't it? On the black marble kind of weird thing.
Yeah, the sidewalk cover.
At the start of the Blueprint Make Friends vid.
Yeah, that's right. And I always thought the photo was way better than the footage. It's fucking hard to skate.
Is that Leo shot that one?
Leo shot that one, yeah. It's really, really difficult to skate that spot. And I remember ramming into that slope and making it to the top. And yeah, it just worked. It was the shot's amazing, and I knew nothing about it. I never knew it was going to be the cover, and I remember Sam Barrett ringing me and saying fucking sick, and I was like, what? And he's like, your cover. And I was like, huh?
What cover?
And then yeah, sure enough, it was the Sidewalk cover.
Yeah, that one's sick.
I did have a cover of the Independent magazine on Saturday.
Yep, I got that written down here.
I don't know if that was Document or Sidewalk, and it was at Fort Miley in SF. Sam Ashley shot it.
I was wondering what that was about.
It was like
Sam Ashley, another legend.
Big up Sam Ashley, yeah, absolutely. Odd photo, really strange that it was on the cover of that issue. I think it was 50 things to do outside of whatever. I think it was like a...
50 things to do outside.
Yeah, maybe. And my shot at Fort Miley was the cover. Very, very stoked to have that.
Have you got that as well?
I do have that one, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I remember my friend Kev, who was the first kid who worked in the shop. He kept it for me, or his mum kept it. She was like, Mackey's on the cover of the magazine. I was like, what? Because I didn't know anything about it either.
Yeah.
That was one of those that Sam probably... somebody saw the image or got the image off someone, and it just appeared on the front of cover of a magazine. So
what an interesting one.
So Kev McCann's mum kept that for us, and big shout outs to Kev McCann as well. He's a top human being.
That's kind of on par with like the odd covers that Munson had, you know, like on fishing, like fishing covers.
So sick. I mean,
what was Fraser? What was the magazine that month? Was it Fishing Monthly, Carp Monthly, or something?
Carp Monthly,
or something like that.
So
funny. That's a banger. Yeah. Carp Monthly.
They sit there like
Carp
massive carp. Should we go into East?
Well,
or did you want to talk more about covers?
I just got asked if I got a question here. Shooting a photo in the Bogside in Derry on Orange Man's Day.
Oh yeah.
I got asked, None of that sentence makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to need to know exactly what that is.
So my friend Aid, who travelled to Europe with me in the Montego, there's a lot of stories around that trip, which hopefully I can come back again and tell you. But yeah, he lives in Derry, and we went to see him. I can't remember if it was a stag weekend or something. We were there for some reason. Oddly enough, Aid, this is a segue slightly, but he built a bowl in his back garden. He's such a incredibly talented artist, and he creates these amazing sculptures, and his artworks are amazing. But he's built this bowl in his back garden, and one day he gets a knock on the door, and he opens the door, and Brian Lottie's at his door.
No way.
And he's like, "What the fuck, Brian Lottie?" And Brian Lottie was in Ireland for something. I can't remember what it was for, but he was there, probably with Rich Hart, maybe. But yeah, so Derry were I can't remember who shot the photo. It was what's his name? Fuck, it's gone right on my head. I've got to remember his name.
Irish photographer.
Yeah.
Richard Gilligan.
Rich Gilligan.
There we go.
I am so fucking good at Googling
I think it's Rich
stuff.
Gilligan anyway. Is it Rich Gilligan?
Big up, producer Fraser.
He's got a sidewalk thing.
No, not Rich. No, Rich lives in Dublin now.
Damn.
Rich actually...
Not as good as I thought it was.
Rich shot a lot of photos with Fontaines DC.
Okay.
Because they're both Dublin. He lived in New York for a long time, Rich. Amazing guy. Was it Rye who gave you the question?
It was.
You'll know.
J Dawds.
Loudspeaker.
It is. It's Jay Dawds.
J Dawds.
It is.
There we go.
I've got to speak to him.
He'll be like, "What's going on here?"
Yeah.
Go and get him on the loudspeaker.
Hello, mate. How we doing? I'm live on the Brain Drain podcast. Yeah, but Forde was asking me a question about the photo in the Bogside, and Jay Dawd's name went out of my head, and I was like, "Who the fuck was it?" And I could not remember. And then producer Fraser shouted it out just as I was ringing you, and I didn't want to not ring you for you to go, "What the fuck's Mackie ringing me for?" Take care, mate. See ya. Bye bye. Yeah, Jay Dawds.
Jay Dawds.
So yeah, we go to Derry. My friend Aid lives there. We go skating, and we're trying to shoot No, we weren't even trying to shoot a yes, we were. So Jay comes out and he says, "I've got a spot for you." And I was like, okay. And I've met Jay a few times up to this point. Really fucking good guy. Met him with the Lord crew. So like I knew the kind of spots he was going to take me to. And he was like, "I've got a spot for you." So we drive around and we end up at the Bogside. And for anyone that doesn't know the Bogside it's a really famous part of Derry with murals on the wall depicting various characters, who were important and integral to the Irish Catholic movement. And I can't remember what mural was on the wall at this point in time, but Jay was like, I've always wanted to shoot a photo, somebody skating in at this spot. And I didn't really think about the significance of the spot, to be honest. So it wasn't in the front of my mind that I shouldn't be skating there. And Jay is from there, and Jay's taken me there, and Jay's fucking gonna shoot the photo. So I was like, yeah, fucking right. So we're skating about. There's two benches kind of on angles, really difficult to get to. I was like, I can't do anything here. It's just, I'm not that gifted on a skateboard to do anything that's going to look that good. And Jay was like, no, just do a fucking crook grind. And I was like, all right, I'll do a crook grind. But these benches have never been skated before, never. And so trying to wax it, trying to make it go, it's not really working. and it starts fucking raining. So I'm like, I've either got to do this now because it's starting to rain or not. And you know, of course, it's a still image. You don't have to land the trick, but I've always been like, I've got to land the trick. I've shot so many photos that I haven't done it, and you know, photographers have wanted to use it, and I've been like, nah, like it's not going to work. So I was like, I've got to land it. So I was like, I've got to fucking go at it. It's starting to rain. I'm under this tree. Jay's way over the other side of the road. He's got a long lens on it because he wants to shoot the full scene. So he wants the building, he wants the gardens, and he wants the benches with me on it. And I wish I'd known that you were going to ask this question. I brought the photo to.
Well, we can put it in the edit
to show you. Yeah, I can find it. But so I'm stood under a tree, and this fucking, and I was like, and this group of fucking lads comes round the corner, and what the fuck, beelines over to this tree where I'm stood, and they start talking to me. Who are you? And I was like, you know, I'm just, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just skating. Like, who the fuck are you? And I was like, and I was trying to, you know, talk. Obviously, I've got an English accent. I'm skating the Bogside. And I didn't realise that it was Orangeman's Day till after the fact, but it happened to be Orangeman's Day. And this group of young Catholic lads could really take offence to what I was doing. They asked me my second name, which is a way of working out who you are. And I was kind of just like, fuck, I don't know what to say here. And then Jay comes flying over, and he just starts talking to them, and then everything, and everyone fucking stoked. And I was like, oh my God, fuck for that. But it turned out that Jay used to work at the newspaper office across the road. So he knew all the, you know, he knew everyone around there. I don't know if he knew those kids, but everything was fucking cool. I was relaxed, and probably the next go after, straight through it, cut grind photo, nice. Super stoked. It's a really fucking amazing photo, and made all the more special because Jay had always wanted to shoot someone at that spot, and it's not often people go to Derry, you know, to skate, and it's certainly not often that Jay's around to shoot the photo. So yeah, special moment for me, and I was super stoked.
That could have got pretty gnarly.
It could have got gnarly, yeah. If I wasn't with Jay, it definitely could have got gnarly. And you know, it's not something I'm you know, from the Orangeman side, I don't know too much about it, but I just knew that day is probably not the day to be skating. And Jay had obviously worked at that newspaper office for many years, had looked at that spot for many years, and was like, I would love to shoot someone skating there. And I happened to be the guy you got.
That's a rad story. Should we go into East?
Yeah, 100%.
Talk to us about East.
I forget about East a lot. I forget I had a board company.
East.
Yeah. So Zoo York, again, flow through Warrior. I'd gone on a trip with everyone from Zoo. They came over. They did this big tour. It was you know, a bus. It was like a lot of money went into this tour. Everyone was there. Quim, Super, Jeff Pang, Antony Korea, you know, everyone on Zoo at that point in time. It was the glory days, as it were. We did a tour of the UK. It was right around, in fact, it was my Sidewalk interview came out while they were on tour here. So it was kind of like stars aligned. And then after that trip, those guys went back to America, and it kind of was just, I was just getting bored from Warrior. And as great as that is, it wasn't really what I was stoked on. I was seeing a lot of kids skating who weren't getting hooked up, and I was friends with a lot of people who knew people who weren't getting hooked up, and I thought, maybe I should start a board brand. I don't know why. I didn't, wake up with this moment of, this light bulb moment that I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to start a skateboard company, because, what the fuck do I know about skateboard companies other than riding a skateboard?
Yeah.
And I think that's integral to everything. I think if you break it back down to being a skateboarder, then you have all the knowledge to open a shop, own a skate company, start a shoe brand, whatever you fucking want, because you're a skateboarder. As long as it's skateboarding and you come at it as a skateboarder, then you have every right to be there, but also you have all the knowledge to do it. You just got to believe in yourself and
absolutely.
Hope that other people believe in you too.
Yeah.
But yeah, East was a brand that I thought about doing. Again, back to Foz, someone who's been there for me since day one as well. I spoke to Foz a lot because Foz had Heroin and Landscape at the time. And I was going down to London, speaking with Foz, not to ride for Heroin and Landscape, but I was talking about starting a board brand. And he was definitely someone that championed it. He was definitely someone that was like, definitely should. What are you going to call it? And obviously coming off a brand, riding for Fibro, riding for Zoo York, both East Coast companies, in my head, I was like, I'm going to call it East.
Yeah.
And again, you say that to anyone and they start laughing. I remember Kingy definitely laughed at it and was like, that's a shit name. I remember that. But of course it is. If you can't see what's in that person's head, it's not there for you to look at. You can't vision it, then it does sound a bit silly on its own, out of context. And I remember Foz said, come down to London, come speak to us at Slam. Because I guess him and Paul had spoke about it and they thought, let's see if this could be something. Foz invited me down to London to come and speak to the guys at Slam.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a friend in Liverpool who had a shop in Quiggins, just across from Lost Start, and I used to speak to him about what was happening, and I was talking about starting a board brand, and he said, I used to speak to my friend Paddy, who's a graphic designer. I'd never met this Paddy, different Paddy to Paddy No Faking. I'd never met him, but he lived in London, and I said, I'm going down to London, so I'll go and meet him. So I went to meet Paddy and talked about East and some brand ideas, and he was fucking super stoked, and we hit it off straight away, and I loved being around him, and he was really pushing me forward to do it, gave me the confidence to do it. And I remember getting the train so I stayed at Paddy's place on the evening before, and then the next day I was travelling out to Latimer Road to Slam, and I remember being on the tube or waiting for the tube, and I remember feeling like really anxious about telling Foz and Paul the name, and I was like trying to think of another name, and I started to doubt everything. And I remember I got there and I said to Foz, I think I'm going to change the name. And he's like, why? I was like, I don't know. I think I might call it Eastbound. Because I've been on the tube and saw the sign for eastbound trains or whatever. And he was like, that's a shit name. Don't call it Eastbound. Call it East. That if Sue were going to start a sister company, it would be called East. And I was like, okay, we'll call it East. And then, so spoke to Paul, spoke to Foz about it. And I think they were stoked on the idea. I just think other stuff was going on for Slam at that time. And I don't think it was going to happen. And Paddy was so into the idea and so stoked on what I was talking about, even though he's not from the world of skate. He was like, I'll fucking invest in this with you. So we started East 2002, I think it was, around that time. And I'd already thought about a few characters that I'd love to put on from the start. Ben Grove was going to be the first guy.
Didn't know that.
Yep. So Ben was skating Liverpool a lot. I skated with Ben a lot. Love Ben Grove. Love his skateboarding, and I was really stoked on him. But it just wasn't going to come to life quick enough. And I knew that Blueprint had asked him to ride for them, and I was like, "You've got to do that, mate.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity that you can't turn down."
Yeah.
So Ben went to ride for Blueprint, but through Ben I got speaking to Tony De Silva. And Tony, if anyone's ever seen Tony skate, he's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Brian Wenning-esque style. Every trick is perfect. Super clean, super technical. Just looks good on a skateboard, and a fucking top human being as well. I love the fact that these people come into my life and become friends, but they're also incredible people, and I'm very fortunate to have good people in my life for sure. And Tony was straight away. I was like, this kid's like, he's fucking not hooked up by anyone. I don't think at that point in time. Maybe he got flowed a few things through Note, or maybe he wasn't even on Note at that point in time. I think he probably was.
Yeah, he was Note's first team rider.
Oh, okay. Oh, so maybe that's why he was on my radar anyway. But Ben obviously was good friends with him. So Tony was like, I'd love to ride for it. And I remember I had a call with him, and he called me Dave, because it was like, kind of like, even though he called me Mackey all the time, suddenly it was like a business call. He's like, "Hi Dave, yeah." And I remember him like speaking to me like that, and I was like, "What are you calling me Dave for?" Like, So, but Tony was one of the first. I'd met Dykie years before, and loved everything that Dykie was doing, and he was somebody that was in my life at that point in time, was down to film anything that we wanted to do. So it was very much a part of East from the get-go. So Dykie was like, Josh Perrott, Welsh Tommy, those guys were killing it at that point in time. Tommy still kills it to this day. Unbelievable skater. So again, two people that weren't hooked up. I think Josh might have been getting stimulus stuff with Pritchard at that time.
It rings a bell, yeah.
So I think he was kind of in the mags, and maybe he was getting bits through some distro flow. But Josh, Tommy, so the team started to make sense in my head. The name, Foz had rubber stamped it.
And was Slam facilitating getting stuff made?
No.
So you were doing it all with the
no, but Foz was helping me in terms of, you need to speak to Chapman.
So I was going to say, it was Chapman Wood, wasn't it?
So Chapman, speak to Chapman, tell him I'll give you the contact, and just mention, Foz fucking said, you're the guys.
Because at the time, Heroin and Landscape.
Yeah.
Anzu was on Chapman, because it was based in New York, wasn't it?
It was based in Amateurville, New York.
Right, okay.
I think. So I remember Foz really looking out for me in that respect. He kind of plugged me into it.
Yeah.
And so the name made sense. The team started to come together. Dykie was going to film. Graphics, I always wanted to start it with a very art-inspired, look and feel. So Kev Gray was a really good friend of mine who was at uni in Sheffield at the time, I think. But he was the first guy who did the first series of boards. Through Kev, I met Edna Kid Acne, another guy from Sheffield, amazing artist, who did the second series of boards. So we really wanted it to be quite artistic from the get-go. I didn't want it to just be about skateboarding. I wanted it to have more to it.
Yeah, I always remember, from an outsider's point of view, it was very much sort of art inspired and recognizable. It was like you knew it was an esport.
Yeah, I wanted them. I wanted the boards themselves to be pieces of art. Like you could hang it on the wall.
Yeah.
As a series, and that was that was a point of difference maybe to a lot of the sort of logo boards that were out at the time. I didn't specifically want to just push one logo. I wanted it to be quite bold, quite, you know, the first series of boards is very graffiti inspired in terms of the backdrop. All the spots are like spray can spots, but it's like a camouflage. That book was actually in the Maharishi Book of Camouflage that they released. Nice. And then Kev's artwork is very tattoo flash inspired, sort of black and white sort of flash inspired artwork. That was the first series, and like I say, Kid Acne was the second series. So it was as much about the artist as it was about the team and the aesthetic.
How long was East around for?
It was only around for about 4 years. Yeah, it wasn't long. Maybe 5 years tops. It didn't make any money. It kind of, you know, it wiped its own arse, I guess, in terms of paying for itself. But then we probably exited, both me and Paddy, maybe $4,000 in the hole each, because it didn't make any money.
It costs money, doesn't it, to do?
All the money went into the video,
the
artwork, the
product
the boards,
for riders,
and giving product away.
It costs a lot, doesn't it?
It does, and again, that shouldn't turn people off. You know, I learned an awful lot about myself. You know, I gave a platform for people to go on. You know, Karan Gale. I remember seeing the Bristol and Bloom video, and instantly, Karan's a 15-year-old kid in that video, and I was like, who the fuck is this kid? He is going to be the next kid. You know, incredible. I just wanted to give him some stuff.
Yeah, she pushed him quite heavily through that time.
He was the best. He is the best.
Yeah, pushed him in a good way.
Absolutely. And I
kind of like helped him get out there as well.
If it was a springboard for something else, that's what it was supposed to be. That's what I've always kind of tried to champion is it gives somebody the opportunity to do it for themselves. You know, it's not of course it's going to benefit the brand. Yeah. But it's about helping those guys as well, you know, and Karam was somebody that I just, his energy was amazing. His enthusiasm was infectious. It kept me going. It kept everyone going, you know. And I think the team that we assembled at that point in time, that the crew that got together, Ferg from Scotland, again, somebody. If you've ever seen Ferg skate, he's fucking incredible. Really, really fucking good, but unknown pretty much outside of Scotland. Yeah. So everybody that kind of became a part of East, Owen, Tommy, Josh, Karan, Tim Crawley. I met Tim, and the second you meet Tim, the guy's incredible. He's just such a nice guy, you know. Yeah. So I just wanted him to be a part. It's a super talented skateboarder, and you know, we didn't skate a lot together, and we didn't get a lot of footage of Tim, which is I don't know for what reason. Maybe he was injured, but I wish we'd have got a lot more footage of Tim. And Tidy Mike helped with that. Sid at 50, you know, everyone 50-50 were distributing it. You know, so we got plugged into so many kids that were incredible. Makepeace, you know, at the time was riding Eastboards, and just it was a really good time in my life. I was pretty young still. Say young, I was probably 35.
Still pretty young,
but young enough.
Yeah.
And you know, we drove up and down the country, and that's testament to Dykie. Dykie drove everywhere, picked everyone up, took us to every spot, and you know, we went to Aberdeen, Cardiff, Bristol, London, you know, everywhere.
Yeah, Dykie's fucking sick.
And I love the fact that in the Vapors vid, so called, because like I remember when no one gave a shit. I remember, you know, nobody cared about what we were doing. People probably laughed at what we were doing. But it was a time in skateboarding, British skateboarding, where every skate shop was backing British brands. Like US brands couldn't get a spot on the wall, and they were worried. You know, I believe there was some sort of meeting where people were like, how the fuck do we get boards back on the walls in skate shops in the UK? Because the UK scene was looking out for UK board brands.
There was a lot of like Blueprint, you had Landscape,
Death,
obviously, Heroin, you guys, East. What else was around at that point?
Minute.
Minute, yeah.
There was Minute. There was Harmony.
Every distro had a board brand out of it.
Yeah, and they were all fucking good, and they were looking after a lot of UK skateboarders. I
think there was a lot more money around at that point to do more things with, maybe.
Yeah, I think there probably was. There was a lot of there seemed to be more opportunity, and Dykie would drive us to all these places, and it was kind of like our marketing. We didn't have any money, so we would just drive into scenes, kind of what Supreme does now. Effectively, we would stay there for a few weekends or whatever, skate with all the locals. They'd show us around all the spots, and we'd be fucking coming home with so much footage. And it was a real moment that I was really fucking stoked to being a part of. And the fact that British board brands were doing well, we were getting, like I say, people were laughing at I felt people were laughing, and they probably weren't. It was probably in my own head, but I felt that people didn't really take us seriously because we had a gang of unknowns. Effectively, no one knew who Karan was. It's hard to believe now Karan is the Karan of now, but no one knew who he was. Ferg was unknown. Tony De Silva was unknown. Welsh Tommy was unknown. So, and essentially, I really hadn't filmed anything, although people knew who I kind of was, but I wasn't really out there. And I think people probably just weren't expecting what was going to come next. And obviously, the Vapors vid, the name comes from the Biz Marquee song. The Vapors, like, nobody knows who you are or cares who you are until everyone's like, oh, and then everyone wants to know. So that video was something that I was really proud of. Dykie really, really took hold of the some of the musical content, shall we say. Wouldn't have been to my taste, some of it, and certainly not to some of the riders' taste, but definitely, he was stoked on it, and for me that was enough. But there were some musical choices that I was able to put in there. The track that I have in my part, really fucking stoked on. So there's the artwork, the cover art, the photos, everything, the whole package that went into it. I was really, really, proud of, and certainly look back on it with fond memories. But I definitely do forget about East a lot, and I don't know why that is. But when people bring it up, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I did have a board brand.
Yeah. What happened to the last East trip to Sweden? The footage.
I don't know if it's the Swedish footage, but I know what you're getting at here. So yeah, East comes to an end. We go to Sweden. We didn't know that was our last trip. Really shit for Chris Jones, but that was his first East trip and happened to be the last East trip.
Last.
And the reasons were Paddy was dealing with a lot of issues at the time. When I first met Paddy, and he won't mind me talking about this, I'm sure. He was dealing with a lot of issues. He'd had cancer.
Gnarly.
I think in his jaw, and he was going through a lot of shit. And the reason why he was stoked on being a part of East was it was an escape from that, I guess. So we threw everything into that, and his enthusiasm was infectious. As I say, he gave me the confidence to do it. And he was obviously getting a lot back from it, but we made no money, and the years had taken the toll on the energy that you can put into it. It takes a lot to run a board brand, and constantly come up with new ideas and constantly keep kind of pushing it out there. And I think it took its toll on Pad mentally as well, and he just wanted to get out and go and do something else away from Liverpool, and I think that was the point in time that we said it's probably worth us calling putting an end to East, and I wish that it hadn't ended so abruptly, because it kind of was here today, and then it's gone, and no one knew it had gone. But that was the reasons, it was a decision that me and Paddy made together, and you know, I didn't want to carry it on my own because it was very much a 50-50. It was very much him. And all the stuff that he put into it, no one really saw because it was all in the background, and you know a lot of the things that made it happen he was doing, you know, that aren't so easy to see. So without him, I just didn't want to carry it on, even though Dykie and Tidy would wanted to kind of assist and come in and help. But for me, it was a good moment to say, you know, enough's enough. And I feel we ended without doing anything shit. I think I think everything we did, if you look back at it now, it looks good. You know, we put together a great team. Everyone was lifelong friends now. We put out a video at full length, which is not easy to do.
Definitely.
And
not.
again, that was down to Dykie's dedication to the cause. And we just gave a platform to people like Karan and Chris to go on and you know have their own fucking story to tell in skateboarding.
Whilst on the subject of Dykie, I've got a question here.
Yep.
How did Dykie blow up a car with a spoon?
He didn't blow the car up. This was one of those missions to Aberdeen.
Right.
Now Dykie would drive to pick everyone up, and when I say pick everyone up, he'd drive from Cardiff to Stoke to Liverpool to and then we'd all go up to Dundee or Arbroath, where Ferg lived, and we'd stay at Ferg's, and then we'd go up to Aberdeen, and he would just drive and film and drive and film, and it was relentless. And one time we were driving back from Aberdeen, I think it was, and Tony's asleep in the back. I can't remember who else was in the car, but it was probably Karan. But Tony was definitely asleep, and I'm in the passenger seat as always, the wingman, trying to keep Dykie awake and keep him just keep us alive, I think.
Big up Dykie again.
Big up Dykie for sure.
Legend.
And a tape had got stuck in his tape machine,
Right.
and he was trying to get it out with this plastic spoon.
Whilst driving?
I can't remember if he was driving at this point, but whatever, the spoon snapped because it's a plastic spoon, and it got stuck in the tape player. So we're driving along, and we're on the motorway, and obviously everyone's a bit sleepy because it's been a long drive. Tony's fast asleep, and then there's a loud bang, and then the next minute, and Dykie's wheels shaking. He's like a scared cat, you know, like, and he's trying to control the steering wheel, and he turns to me, and I'm like, "What the fuck, Dykie?" And he says, "You don't think that's a plastic spoon, do you?" And I said, "No, your fucking wheels blown, your tyres blown. Pull over." So we pull over, and sure enough, the tyre had blown, and obviously Tony wakes up, starts screaming, and yeah, it could have been a lot worse than it was. But yeah, that was his first
that's
words.
Fucking brilliant.
You don't think it's got anything to do with that plastic spoon, do you? Yeah, amazing.
Dykie.
But there's so many stories about Dykie.
Yeah,
I mean,
Dykie's
he's a legend, and he's again a fucking beautiful person. Anybody that knows him or has any interaction with him will attest to that.
When I met him the other weekend, I just wanted to keep hugging him. I don't know why.
Yeah.
He just stood there, and I just keep wanting to go, "I've got you, Dykie."
Oh, he's something very special about.
Yeah,
Dykie.
he's lovely.
And like I say, his dedication to the cause was the whole reason why that video came together. It wouldn't have happened without him, and I don't think people really understand just how much goes into filming a video.
Absolutely not. It is like you say, it's relentless,
and it takes over your life.
Yeah,
you know, and it can be very difficult to finish a project.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, everyone wants another week to film another clip, to
can
film
go on
another
forever.
part. And it can go on forever. And I can't remember how many years it was that we filmed, but the video's an hour long, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a short full length. by any stretch of the imagination. There's so many extras, parts, and
did that come out on DVD?
It did come out on DVD.
Is it on the YouTubes? If anyone wants to,
it is on YouTube. Yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch that tonight. I think
Put
I might just overlay the whole video on this episode.
I was going to say, why don't when we're talking about East, just get that rolling through on there.
Yeah, but I mean, it opens with Josh Perrett's part, and his part's incredible.
Yeah,
and I think if you watch the video, you won't see the spots before. You probably haven't seen those spots since. You probably don't know who anybody is in the video. There's a French section which is filled with the who's who of British skateboarding at the time. We even had a Wainwright clip in there, which I was so stoked on because Wainwright is, one of those skateboarders that's top tier. The video was a real highlight, and definitely, I'm sad that it's not here anymore, but we also we left on good terms, and everyone moved forward. And like I say, it was a platform for the likes of Chris and Karan to tell their own story in skate now.
I've not watched it for a while, but it kind of reminds me of like traffic skateboards and stuff like that, just like the crew at the crusty spots kind of thing, and being on the road and travelling to them. Yeah,
and I mean, there's things in my part that we went to these spots once, and there's things that I filmed purely because the crew of people I was with, the energy that was around those trips, and seeing Karan skate is something.
He's unreal. Yeah, we want to get him on the show.
Oh, you should get him on.
If you want to drop him a sneaky little message,
I will. Yeah. No,
I'd love to have him on. He's one of the, I follow a lot of skateboarders, obviously, but Karan, whenever he posts stories and that, it's always rad seeing him. He looks like he's having a good time. Yeah. And that's what I like to see.
Yeah, and I think that's important. That's the thing that keeps people coming back. Mm-hmm. If they feel you're having fun, then they want to be a part of it. They can buy into it.
He's got good trick selection. He makes it look good.
Yeah. And he's better now. Than he was.
Yeah, like fine wine,
he's better now. Karan is a genius. He's an artist, and you could tell that straight away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The way that he skated was so free. It was like he was painting. He could land anything. It looked like you could never make it, and he just do it. Even the things that he wasn't making, he'd still stay on his board. Yeah. So great.
Big up Karan.
Big up Karan, Gale.
Do you want to go into that one next?
Yeah.
Over to you, Forde.
Thanks, Toby. So after East ended, the fuck is going on here?
No.
When did we turn into like some cheesy fucking news station?
Over to you, Forde. Thanks so much.
Back to the Forde in the studio.
Yeah. Forde in the studio.
And here's Forde with the weather.
Chopper Dave.
Thank you, Toby.
Go on.
So after East ended, you was asked by Magee to ride for Blueprint, and that was kind of just near the end of Blueprint. I think you was on it for like 4 years, maybe 3-4 years.
Yeah, I'm not sure what.
Because you had the intro part to the Make Friends with the Colour Blue.
Yeah.
Which is.
Yeah.
Fucking sick.
Pinnacle.
I hear that quote in my head. This is our mate Mackey.
Okay.
Randomly, even if I'm not thinking about it, I'll just get in the shower and he goes, "This is our mate Mackey."
Okay.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Okay.
But how did that go? And Magee asking you to ride for Blueprint as well, because Blueprint was also top tier.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I was obviously from travelling with the NikeSB crew. Yeah. And being close to pretty much all those guys on Blueprint, Colin, especially because of NikeSB, Baines, who is arguably the best skateboarder to ever have come from the UK. Baines is incredible.
I always go back over his Blueprint parts because the songs and everything.
Yeah, everything is timeless. Everything is the gear he wears, the tricks he does, the spots he skates, and the music choice.
All of his footage can blend into one, and it's like I said, because it's timeless. No matter what era it is, it just fits.
And he just looks the same.
Yeah.
And he's got that timeless look on his board as well. So being close to all those guys, Shire, Baines, Colin, and I think we'd done a trip to. I can't remember what the trip to China was because it wasn't a NikeSB trip. and it wasn't a Blueprint trip. No, it was a Blueprint trip, I think. But I got on the trip because of somehow. I don't know how it was. Maybe they'd asked for me to go on it. I can't remember. But I ended up in China with all the Blueprint guys, and skated with them. I was injured. I remember not being able to really do anything. I had an Eastboard at the time, and I remember not being able to really skate, but shot some stuff and skated with everyone. And then when we came back, I don't know where the conversation started, but somehow Magee, or it probably was Magee that asked me, would I ride for Blueprint? And I was fucking stoked.
Yeah, it must have been like a.
Well, I mean, I actually, Blueprint. It's hard to put into. Blueprint it's still around, but it's not fucking Blueprint.
Yeah. No, it's not.
To say that Blueprint was one of the best board brands, not just from the team, but also from the videos that were put out. Magee is an artist. Yeah. Everyone who rode for that brand was very special. Nick Jensen, incredibly talented. Shire, Colin, old, new, Chewy, Brady. Everyone had something, and they were all kind of in their moment. For Lost and Found, and Make Friends was coming out at a time that was, not Blueprint that once was, but Blueprint to me was everything. Alien Workshop, I put Blueprint there. Zoo York, I put Blueprint there. Chocolate Girl, I put Blueprint there.
Even the Make Friends video is so good though as well.
Yeah, it is. It is. You can say you can talk about Blueprint in the same way you talk about any of those other brands.
Yeah, the output from Blueprint was consistently top tier.
Yeah, always.
A+.
Always.
Like the best. It was I don't know.
And they had people riding from the bottom of the country up to the top. So there was always a local pro not too far from where you lived.
Absolutely. And that was an inspiration for East too, because of the way that they, that everyone was. There was Scotland, there was Wales. Not so much Wales by the time, Pritch wasn't a part of Blueprint. At that point.
Yeah.
But I was definitely inspired by Blueprint with East. So then to be even asked to be a part of it, what that part would be, I didn't know at the time. I was really, really stoked, and I also didn't think that I had anything to give to Blueprint, because obviously the older guard was kind of moving on, and they had Tom Knox had just started skating for them, Chewy, Brady. Magee asked me would I ride for Blueprint, and I'd said, I've got some footage, to kick the ball, to start the ball rolling, with some footage is always going to be good, because they're already into filming for Make Friends. Everyone's been stacking footage, and I've got nothing. So Magee starts reaching out to Dykie for this footage. We'd filmed some stuff in Sweden. We'd filmed some stuff in Liverpool. Some stuff that was in magazines that there's photos of, but no footage. And I said, Magee, reach out to Dykie, get that footage, it'd be sick. Even if it's just for a promo or, credits, whatever.
Yeah.
So he keeps trying to call him. Magee calls me, says, I can't Dykie won't answer me calls. And I'm like, really? So I calls Dykie. And I said, Dykie, why are you not answering Magee's calls to get this footage? He's like, And if you've met Dykie, he always goes, I've been meaning to tell you about that. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you know that interview I had in Sidewalk? I think it was Sidewalk. And I was like, oh yeah, Behind the Lens or something.
Yeah.
They do an interview with a filmer. And obviously Dykie's renowned for being quite clumsy. and you know, Frank Spencer-esque, and things happened to him. And I said, yeah. And he's like, you know, I've got that videotape wrapped around me. And he's basically got the camera and a tape and loads of video tape wrapped around him. That was your footage tape. And I started laughing because I thought, that's so stupid. Yeah. Why would you just have a tape full of my footage? And he's like, I just can't answer the phone to Magee because honestly, that's your footage tape. And basically, he thought it was a blank cassette, and it happened to be the tape with my footage that he hadn't backed up, and he wrapped around his
naughty Dykie.
So,
shout out Dykie.
Definitely shout out.
I'll tell you what, I am not. Hang on, let me phrase that. I am so pleased that you don't have to fucking deal with tapes anymore.
Yeah.
So I've still got a bucket load of them.
Nightmare.
Oh, it was constant, especially with the VX1.
Nightmare.
I'd always like, if anyone wanted to review anything, I bought a little digicam with fold-out screen.
Yep.
So you film a clip, VX1, into that to watch, back in. So, no other tapes allowed in there. Don't contaminate my head.
Yeah.
Stay away.
Oh yeah, filmers were like really.
It was like nobody fucks with that.
Yeah, and Magee was definitely. You know, you couldn't fuck with any of his shit. Yeah. I remember Magee was always pushing the boundaries of what to use for filming. And I remember we went on a shoot. I think I was on Blueprint at this moment, or maybe it was an NikeSB thing, but we were all skating this spot, this kind of abandoned warehouse spot. Yeah. It's in Make Friends anyway. I've got a line there. And it's really dusty on the floor, and Magee had this little kind of like trolley, 4 wheels with this little weighted sack, and I think it was some sort of fucking Formula One bullshit. Like it was really high end sort of trolley that you put the camera on, and I came walking over, saw this like skateboard-esque kind of thing, stood on it, started pushing around, and then put it back. And then skated off and Magee was tripping out about who the fuck stood on this because the wheels weren't aligned anymore and something was up with it. And
did you tell him?
It was yeah, I think so. And if I didn't, I've just come clean on the Brain Drain show. But it was my footprint because everyone else was wearing Dunks and I was wearing this Air Trainer which had a different sole, and because it was dusty, the dust of the sole unit was still on there. So maybe I owe Magee some money for that one. But yeah, just being asked to be a part of that, even though it was obvious to everyone that things were kind of changing. The brand was bought and sold from Burlow to Canadian owners. Shire was living in the States. Everyone was kind of over it, shall we say? But everyone was still trying to, film for the project, and Magee was focusing on new guys from the States because the owners needed names outside of, Kevin Coakley was someone that Magee wanted on.
Incredible skateboarder.
Oh, mate,
I've been to some of the spots from that video, and it's gnarly.
They're not even possible. And
the ride on 50/50 along the rail, pop back up near the big amphitheatre that PJ skates, A Wonderful Horrible Life. It's gnarly.
The best.
The filming didn't do it justice on that, like how gnarly that spot is.
And I don't think, most of those spots that Coakley skates are like you have to go there.
I've seen so many of them, just like what the fuck.
And he was working full time when Magee was there filming, so he'd go out first thing in the morning. I think he was valet parking cars in the night, and then so in between full time work, he was putting in a fucking shift.
Yeah.
And that part's incredible. I think Magee says I think it's his best work. I think Magee was fully, invested in making Coakley look the best that he can look, but also, filming it the best that he could film it.
And then with the spots he's skating, with it being East Coast and a lot of it being Boston, it doesn't stick out.
No, it's very, Marty's part really stuck out. Because Marty's an incredible skateboarder, and anybody that's watched his part in Make Friends or has seen his Filmbot Files part, will agree he's phenomenally talented, but yeah, it didn't really fit the mix. And I think Marty was brought in to maybe appease the new Canadian owners. I don't know the full story, but Marty was kind of like the odd one out in that respect. But I think everyone, if you watch that video again, everyone was still trying to put in for the cause.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether I was supposed to have a full part or whether it was always intended to be kind of like a precursor to the vid starting as a mate, which it's totally fine with me. That's kind of what I felt like anyway. I don't know if Magee felt the same, but I always felt like I shouldn't be on Blueprint because it's you know,
Blueprint.
Yeah. And you know, Colin, Shire and Baines. And obviously I'm the precursor to the vid starting, then the vid starts and it's you know, Colin, Shire together, and I think maybe Baines as well. In that first sort of section, Magee talks about it. He wanted it to be the old guys into the new guys and the younger crew, because that was going to be kind of Blueprint as it kept going. And then it kind of, after the vid came out, we did a tour around the UK, premiere in the vid. It started to feel like that was it. You know, everyone was kind of over it. I say, Shire was either living in the States or had moved to the States. It was about to move to the States or was living there already. I can't remember, but...
And then you're putting in all that work for like Canadian owners that don't give a shit about what you're doing.
And I think, you know, I wasn't in any meetings or was kind of privy to certain information. I don't know if anyone was, but people started to leave. I think Colin left, Baines left, Shire was in the States, and strangely enough, I was the only kind of older guy left on Blueprint. And we did a trip with me, Smithy. I forgot to mention Smithy. I mean,
Neil Smith, big up Neil Smith.
Smithy is still killing it, still one of the best skateboarders ever, and just loves skateboarding for the you know, for the reasons.
Have we spoken to him about coming on?
Yeah,
he needs to come on.
He's keen.
Yeah, we need to get him on.
A real one for sure.
Yeah.
So Smithy was driving. I was in the passenger seat. Back seat was Chewy, Brady, and Tom Knox. And we went and did a demo somewhere. I can't remember where it was, an indoor skate park. Knox was fucking killing it, as he always does. Hungry for it, you know. He just got on Blueprint. This is fucking it, because he only had a few tricks in Make Friends. You know, he was like on fire at that point in time. I think the America Knox shoe edit that Magee had done at that point in time, fucking incredible. So he was like the next kid, basically. But everyone was grumbling. You know, everyone was talking about, I'm over it, I'm going to go and do something else.
Yeah.
Palace was talked about. You know, everyone was just a bit down on it. And it ended pretty quickly after that. And you know, everyone went on to do other things. And for me, I never really felt a part of Blueprint, if that makes sense. It came at such a late stage. I think if it had kept going and everyone was still a part of it, it might have been a different story. But I'm really glad I was a part of it. They're all my friends, still my friends to this day. And you know, I was definitely stoked to have been given the opportunity. And I tried my best to film some stuff. I don't think it was that great. Magee left some things out that I thought should be in there, but he left them out because it didn't flow with the vid or didn't look as fast, or he had a vision for the part. And I wasn't that stoked on the part when it first came out. And I certainly look at it with a different perspective now. I absolutely love the song choice, and I really love the way that Magee's put it together, and it's something I'm very proud of for sure. And the fact that, as you say, people always say, mate Mackey, as soon as I'm introduced, I'm like, it's like a calling card, you know. It's pretty
but that's Rattler, isn't it? Like, that's
just sticks in my brain.
Let's move on to New Balance. And your involvement.
Should we talk about
there?
the National?
I was just about to say,
what do you want to do that first?
Yeah, that's why I put the line again.
Yeah,
okay, all right. Let's go from Blueprint to the National.
So
how long was that? The gap.
It was almost instant. because everyone was in limbo for a second.
Yeah.
I remember Blueprint finished, and I remember Shire was talking about something. You know, there was whispers of something happening. Palace was obviously there or just about to really kick off. I can't remember the timeline. Palace was around, but it was kind of in its infancy. I think it was probably just the first few guys. I don't even think Brady and, you know, Chewy had probably been spoke about and Brady had been spoke about, but it was still on Blueprint. As soon as Blueprint finished, I think that was a done deal. Those guys were on Palace. And there was whispers of something else happening. And then Rye hit me up and said, I'm thinking of starting a brand, and it's going to be myself. It's going to be Rye, Tom Brown,
big up Tom Brown,
Sam Barrett, big up every one of those guys, and and Harrison. I'm pretty sure Harrison was
Tom Harrison.
Tom Harrison was in the conversation, and Tom had obviously been on Blueprint at the tail end as well.
Yeah.
Another incredibly talented skateboarder that was destined to go on to do something incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his Crowns and Owls stuff, you know, is fucking amazing what those guys do. But National was being spoke about. I didn't know the name, but Rye met me in Liverpool and he said, I'm going to start something. I really want you to be a part of it. It was a no-brainer for me. You know, I definitely said, not sure what I can do for this. I was probably 40 or just turning 40. I'm 50 now. And so that's when it was so kind of an old guy, even then, you know, even though it's 10 years ago, it's fucking mad. And he mentioned who was going to ride for it, and I can't remember the first names that were obviously Tom Harrison, myself,
Maned,
and I think that was the first Jugger. So Daniel Stankovic, another incredibly talented skateboarder, rides for Lost Art. Should have mentioned him earlier. An absolute legend.
Too many to remember.
Legend on and off a skateboard. So it was a no-brainer, and I definitely said to Rye, not sure what I can do or give to this, because I'm 40, I'm trying to run a shop, and you know, at the time Lost Art was in a really, really shitty situation, and things were pretty tough, and I was trying to manage that, and it wasn't easy, and my mind was definitely not focused on skateboarding, that's for sure. But Rye was I don't expect anything of you, just want you to be a part of this. I was down for it.
Yeah.
So he told me the name. I was stoked. They don't think they had logos and stuff then at this point in time. And I'd said yes to it, and that was that. And I went to a wedding in London. My friends Glenn and Sarah got married, and Glenn's from Croydon and he's good friends with Shire. And so at the wedding, Shire had come over, and my son Baxter was really small, and I had Baxter there, so I wasn't drinking at the time, and I had Baxter with me. I was hanging out with Shire. It was amazing because we hadn't seen each other since Blueprint had finished. And he starts talking about doing something, and he wants me to be a part of it. And I was like, oh man, I'd love to, but I've already said I'm gonna do this thing with Ryan. You know, that's it. That's what I'm gonna do. And obviously he was talking about Isle. I didn't know.
Yeah.
It was obviously Nick and Shire.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I think, you know, maybe you should think about it. And he told me the team. You know, and obviously Chris Jones was mentioned, and I was like, fuck, the team's amazing, but like, it sounds like Sylvan, another Blueprint fucking legend. You know, it sounded like it was a prop. Not that the National wasn't a proper thing. It sounded.
But Ride already made it clear.
There was no expectations on me from the National, what Shire was positioning. It sounded like he wanted me to be the TM for this new brand that he was starting, but he was living in the States.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not the case.
Yeah.
But maybe he just wanted me to skate for it, or just get a board. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you know, test the boards out. Who the fuck knows? But you know, as stoked as I was that Shire was you know, asking me about this, I was definitely hyped that I was going to be on this thing with my friends. Rye was, you know, I'd known Rye for a number of years, an amazing guy.
Yeah.
And definitely someone that I respected and was over the moon that he asked me to ride for it. Good friend, Tom Brown, obviously, Sam Barrett. And I'd known Tom Harrison for a number of years because of SB. So I was stoked on the team, Manhead as well. And, you know, just felt like a good thing to be a part of. It was new. It was very British focused, outside of Jugger, who was obviously not from Britain. But yeah, I loved what they were talking about. I loved the way that it was kind of teased, the name, and yeah, was super fucking stoked at 40 years old to be asked to ride for
it's a good crew, isn't it? And I guess if it felt right, then that's
it did definitely. And it was and is incredible, all those guys, you know, and for sure I would have loved to have rode for Isle. And the Vase video of ours, however you say it, depending on where you're from, is you know, one of the best videos to come from the UK, and a lot of that is testament to Jake Harris, who is obviously an incredible filmmaker. And you know, I would love to have been a part of that video, but yeah, the National was and still is my home, and I love everything that Rye does, and I'll back it to the wheels fall off.
Yeah, I've got to give a shout out to Rye because he helped us out with a lot of the questions as well. Like me and Toby had a lot of stuff wrote down, but I was like, Rye's gonna know a lot more than I do, or the internet does as well. So I hit him up this morning, and it was just like,
not that we left it till the last minute.
It was just like on the bus. It
was just like question. He sent like question. Oh, I've got to go swimming. I'll get back to you like soon, and then 5 minutes later, 3 more questions. 10 minutes later, and I was like, have you actually even gone? It was like
the changing rooms.
Yeah, like from leaving home to the changing rooms to like maybe even walking up to the pool. So shout out to Rye Gray because he gave a lot of good hints and stuff to ask at as well.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
wrap it up on the final question.
Let's go on to New Balance.
Okay.
Now, how did that all unfold, and where are you at now? What's your job title, etc.?
So it again when Blueprint finished, and the National started, I was still on SB. I remember being on SB at the time, and obviously a lot of my friends were still there at this point in time, and it was still kind of the SB that we all knew and loved. But times were changing, and I talked about Lost Art struggling at that point in time. A lot of that was down to you know, Nike opening up its I said Nike there, did you see that? Wow, not Nike. So Nike, so I refer to them now that I'm not on
Nike.
Yeah. So they were opening up the you know, the distribution, and it was going to be, you know, available in more stores than just core skate shops. And you know, absolutely sound, that's business. I always wanted to be a part of something that I backed, and I didn't feel at this point in time I could back it. A lot of my friends' stores were suffering because of that move, and I was still wearing Nikes and feeling a bit like, actually, you know, maybe I shouldn't be a part of this anymore. Knowing that things weren't great for my store as well, and that played into it. It wasn't the main reason. There were lots of reasons that caused issues to happen, but it was definitely a big issue. So I went to Amsterdam, met with Colin and Jugger, and told them face to face that, you know, I couldn't ride for NikeSB anymore, and I was you know, stoked to have been a part of it for 15 years, and I was, you know, immensely proud of everything that we'd done. Loved every trip that we'd been on. loved everything those guys did and still do to a certain extent. Colin's still there. They've built an amazing scene. They've looked after amazing team. They've looked after so many shops over the years with the product. You know, that obviously has kept the lights on for many. But at this point in time, it wasn't working for me, and things were going sour, and I definitely felt that I couldn't support it. So it was time for me to just sever ties with it. And I didn't have a view to move to anything else at this point in time. You know, I wasn't, like I say, I was 40 years old and not really focused on skating because, you know, I was trying to keep the business afloat. And Seb, who obviously has been instrumental.
Big up Seb for the 85th time.
Throughout my whole life, pretty much, I would say. He was had just started working with New Balance, and he was trying to build New Balance in the States and then was looking to build it in Europe. At this point in time, I think Black Box was still doing the shoes.
And Stu
Titmus rolling people. Stu and Dan. And Stu was the rep. And I remember buying the shoes for the shop. And I remember being a bit like, it don't really fit. And, you know, the styles aren't that good. But I backed it because it was Seb and Stu, you know, and the, you know, Stu's a friend of mine. And obviously Seb is more than just a friend. So, you know, I backed it, and Seb was talking to me for feedback on the product and the shoes, and, you know, what was good, what was bad. So we were in conversation about this. He was asking what team riders I felt he should be looking at. Obviously Tom Knox was a name that I said straight away. And he, you know, he just started sending me shoes. And that was it, which I was fucking stoked about because I got to, you know, wear skate shoes that you know, through a friend. And yet they weren't the best at this point in time because it wasn't New Balance that were making them. It was through Black Box and Black Box's factories.
Was that so? Did New Balance license it to Black Box, and they were Black Box obviously had fallen.
Yes.
So they were using their factories to do it that right. I didn't realise that was how it was working there, but
so it wasn't really, you know, it was New Balance, but it wasn't, you know, at the same time. So obviously wearing the shoes, being a part of it, conversations with Seb, shop not doing so well, shop eventually closing. Things kind of went a bit pear-shaped for me, personal bankruptcy. So life took a pretty big downturn pretty quickly. It went, you know, it went downhill pretty fast, and things were looking a bit shit. And Seb, again, guardian angel that he is, stepped in and said, look, how about you building the team in Europe? And, you know, we'll be able to pay you this much to help with that. And, you know, saved me and my family 100%.
Amazing. That's rad.
So started to build a team, started to figure things out, started to work with stores, get feedback on what was good, what was bad, what could be done better. And just fed that back to Seb and the team. Started working with Tom Henshaw, who's a friend from many years ago, going full circle back to skating in Manchester and going to the curbs. You know, Tom and Dan would be there. And Tom was working at New Balance, so I started to go to the office, sit with Tom, you know, and that team management kind of role really quickly morphed into, like, actually you could be running the brand in Europe, really. I had all the contacts, you know, I knew all the stores, I was already speaking to them, and I was able to kind of, you know, see how we could learn from the mistakes of the past, and you know, it's all about timing. Again, you know, Seb has always been there for me. And the team role, pretty quickly, I think about a year, that morphed into me being able to pass it on to Baines, who had, Seb had got wearing the shoes at this point in time and had become a team rider.
It's such a fucking good shoe that suits Baines' image as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like he just looks right.
Yeah, he does, yeah, absolutely.
Same with Tom.
Yeah.
Like it looked. I think their team just looked right in what they've got.
And a lot of that is down to Seb's vision. Seb has always been really ahead of the curve and he's always been able to see things that eventually happen. He's a
lovely guy. I met him once when I lived in Sheffield.
Yeah.
And he came into Slugger and he was just a nice guy. Wasn't like.
No.
You know what I mean? Just
because
just a rad guy.
Normal fella.
Yeah.
And that's you can see that in New Balance numeric.
Yeah.
He's the top guy and he's just a normal fella.
Yeah, he's rad.
Absolutely loves skateboarding, and that's what shines through. So Baines being a team rider, he kind of started to pick up the team management role. He's the best team manager in the business. I know there's a lot of good team managers out there, but I watch how Baines conducts himself, how he works, how he looks after everyone, and there is no one better to do that job than him. He's immensely talented at the job, and he knows a lot more than you'd think, and he sees a lot more than you think.
Again, because he's been through it in his professional career, he's probably dealt with people where they've been so slack. You know what I mean? That he wants to keep it on point.
And he's a real one. And again, a love for skateboarding shines through. I think we all love it. Everyone at Numeric is a skateboarder. Everyone, everyone, designer, marketing. Tyrone, skateboarder. Geoff, designer, skateboarder. Nick Pappas, skateboarder. Jason Rothmeyer, skateboarder. Woody, skateboarder. Vince, skateboarder. Maxie, Ollie, skateboarders. Baines, everyone. We're all top to bottom in every department, and it's a really small crew. So we obviously spoke about me, maybe my role kind of being built upon, and then with Tom and Seb, they were able to figure it out that perhaps a sort of brand manager role was more fitting to what I could offer. And it's been a kind of work in progress since then over the past sort of 10 years. And it's
been that long.
It's 10 years in March.
Yeah, because it was 2015 when you changed from SB.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it'll be 10 years in March for me. And I've got, I'm still a consultant. So I've always been a sort of independent consultant, even though, my main work is New Balance. I'm treated like an employee, but I'm not an employee. So that will change in the next few months. But it's been something that has grown. I've grown with it. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about skateboarding, the industry, but I've always approached it with, and I don't know if Woody spoke to this on the episode he's on, but always approached it with the mindset of a skateboarder, but also how do I look after skate shops and skateboarding? How does New Balance help skateboarding? How does it, provide opportunities, and how does it, assist? I know it's a brand, and making money is the fundamental component, but whilst making money, how do you protect the thing that you're making money in, and how do you add value to that? And that's something that we all work tirelessly on.
Yeah,
that must be kind of tough sometimes, because without going into too much details, like you're saying, some shops are struggling, having a bad time, and you obviously want to keep them on board and working with them. The truth is, stores will come and go. And there are things that happen that are so far beyond our control. But the things that we can control, we try to assist as best we can. We listen to the stores first and foremost.
We try to understand what the issues are, and you know, if that's whatever that may be, you know, Woody will try and assist. I'll try and assist. Baines will try and assist, and that's all you can do. You know, you can't prop stores up, but what you can do is put your arm around them, and hopefully that's enough to give them the confidence to keep going, because it is tough. But the one thing we know, it will come back around.
For sure.
And like I said earlier, we need new energy. We need new stores to open. We need young kids to think that that's a credible way of making a living. And you know, yes, it's hard, but it's so valuable. You learn so much about yourself. You know, you really, really do, and it's important. You know, and I know that it will happen, but the platform has to be there for those kids to springboard from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Numeric's been helping a lot of thick projects happen, like the Readers' Joy book and, you know, Skins thing. Yeah,
and again, that's Seb. You know, Seb's come from a retailer background.
Yeah.
You know, he understands the things that make skateboarding the thing that it is.
Yeah,
you know, it's not just selling product.
Yeah.
It's events, it's grassroots.
It's the whole lifestyle and culture around that, isn't it?
Having the right team, it's filming videos, it's adding value to the culture of skateboarding. And that's what I think we all try and do. And a lot of brands are doing it, and it's amazing. You know, skateboarding's never been in a better place in terms of the good shit that's happening. It's just that the economy's not great in a lot of markets, and things are, you know, it's not easy. Price of product is sky high, and people's, you know, people aren't, you know, earning as much. You know, the cost of gas, electricity, food, rent, mortgage rates, it all plays a factor into what people have available to spend on skate product. But ultimately, if they're a part of skateboarding, they want to support skateboarding, and some way they'll find the money to buy a new board or a new pair of shoes. You know, so that I don't think that's ever going to go away. And it's as great as skateboarding, you know, being in the Olympics is. It certainly puts more eyes on skateboarding, but it doesn't necessarily trickle down to you know, the core shops or the little shop in whatever town that may be. For sure, it gives visibility, and absolutely people are talking about it. But ultimately, you need people to pick up the board and keep skating. You know, it's very easy for a kid to be distracted because there's so many good things for kids to do nowadays. You know,
tell me about it.
Skateboarding's, you know, we've got kids, we know what it's like. You know, we know that my son has, you know, my son and daughter both have so many activities that they love to do, and skateboarding for my daughter is just one of those things. You know, and yes, it's in her life, and yes, she loves it, but she loves acrobatics, she loves dance, she loves you know, fucking running about and being crazy just as much, and that's, I guess that's never been any different. But there are a lot of distractions that are more easily obtained than when I was a kid. Definitely. You know, and the phone is a huge distraction. Online gaming's a huge distraction, and you know, everyone wants to be with their mates, and if all your mates are online gaming, then you're online gaming. And that, you know, that I can't knock my son for doing that. It's like, fucking right, I'd be there too. If my mates were online, we'd all be there, you know, screaming at a screen. But yeah, I think skateboarding, I don't think it's ever going to it's always going to keep growing. It's always going to keep adapting and changing with the environment, and you know, I don't think that's ever going to stop. And the amount of diversity within skateboarding is incredible. It's a beautiful place. Sometimes we can be blissfully unaware of the madness that goes on in real life. But there is something very beautiful about skateboarding, and something that I am very glad I found at 11, 12 years old, and to be sat talking to you guys at 50 years old about the thing that I fell in love with when I was a little kid, and still have as much love and passion for it as I did then, you know, it's very special.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I don't take it for granted.
No,
for sure.
no, totally. I'm with you on that. It's an incredible thing, and that's probably a good time to wrap it up.
Yeah, just want to say thank you for coming on. It's been a great privilege, and I know we've waited for a very long time.
Yeah, you were playing hard to get there for a while, weren't you?
Not sure playing hard to get. I was going through some issues.
Okay.
Life gets in the way sometimes.
It sure does.
Of podcasting.
But I'm glad we got you finally.
No,
really
stoked.
appreciate that.
I'm stoked.
That's rad hearing about all the stories and stuff. So thank you very much.
No, but keep doing what you do. I love what you do. You know, I think it's important that you guys are telling stories, or certainly allowing people a platform to tell their stories. And obviously there are other podcasts out there, but this is one of my favourites for sure. Purely because of the guests.
That's going in the. I'm going to change the bio on Instagram to Mackey's favourite podcast.
It's definitely up there.
One up. I'll put one up.
For sure. From a skateboarding perspective, it definitely is. I mean,
thanks. Appreciate that.
There's a lot of good stories to tell from the UK, and you know,
so many.
That's why we started it.
Yeah, and I'm glad because you know, hearing Skin talk about his journey, hearing Avi talk about his journey, hearing Shipman talk about his journey, these are fucking gods in terms of UK skateboarding. You know what I mean? Not just UK skateboarding, you know, gods within skateboarding, and their stories are vitally important. All our stories are important as skateboarders because we all add something to the culture of skateboarding. All of us are important. So I'm stoked that you invited me on, and I know it took a while.
But we got there.
I'm glad I was on here.
Well, thank you for everything you've done in skating, and we love you a lot.
I love you both.
Thank you. Let's have a round of applause in studio audience, please.
Everyone's gone home.
Let's go get the East video on.